Chapter 136. The inn seemed to be a bit lively today, as it was full of people. Muyu's seat was near the window and had a good view. Moreover, there were only bones left on the chicken drumstick. Little Shuai was finishing off the last chicken drumstick and even burped. Muyu had stopped eating long ago. It seemed that the man and beast had finished eating. Muyu lazily raised his head and sized up this serious young man. He was one of the three distinguished alchemists from before. According to Muyu's senses, this guy should be at the nascent soul stage. Although his aura was restrained, it still gave Muyu a faint sense of oppression. This young man had a sharp and angular face. With one look, one could tell that he was serious in speech and manner. It was unknown if he had facial paralysis like in Shu. His tone was very arrogant, mixed with the kind of "I asked you to give up your seat because I think highly of you" tone. The pattern of the pill cauldron on his chest was very eye-catching. Below it were 4 golden lines, indicating that he was a 4th-rank alchemist. A 4th-rank alchemist was a true alchemist in the cultivation world. The 4th-rank pills they refined were extraordinarily valuable. In the past, if an alchemist wanted someone to give up their seat, those people would have already eagerly nodded and bowed their heads to give up their seat. The status of an alchemist was extremely noble and was the target of many cultivators. Even an out-of-body stage cultivator would have to be polite when facing a 4th-rank alchemist. Not to mention that this young man came from the holy land of alchemy, the pill cauldron sect that no sect dared to offend. Muyu's seat had the widest view and the brightest light in the entire inn. Therefore, this young man saw Muyu's seat at a glance. Unfortunately, he found a wrong person because Muyu didn't know how frightening the other party's identity was. "We haven't finished eating yet." Muyu refused without turning his head. He wasn't here purely to eat. His main purpose was to inquire about the situation of the 3 continents so that he wouldn't be ignorant. He wouldn't be afraid just because the young man in front of him was a nascent soul stage cultivator. Why should he give up his seat to them? Could it be that fellow Taoist wants to finish eating these bones as well? The young man frowned and was not satisfied with Muyu's attitude. He could see that Muyu was just a practitioner of the Jindan period. He just politely asked him to give up his seat. In fact, with his cultivation and identity, he could directly drive Muyu away. He straightened his chest and once again showed the symbol of the alchemy cauldron on his chest. Obviously, he wanted to show his identity as an alchemist of the alchemy cauldron sect so that Muyu would be more tactful. "Waiter, 1 more serving of stir-fried vegetables." Muyu ordered the cheapest thing, and he really didn't want to give up his seat. This young man was definitely someone with some status. He didn't believe that the other party would dare to do anything to him. The thing he hated the most was bullying the weak, especially when it was obvious that the other party was bullying him because he was weak and was forcing him to give up his seat. "Are you really going to refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit?" The young man coldly snorted. The other diners next to him saw that the alchemist of the alchemy cauldron sect was about to get angry. They quickly whispered to Muyu, "This little friend, I think you should give up your seat. This person is not someone you can afford to provoke. He is an alchemist of the alchemy cauldron sect. Don't get into a conflict with him." An alchemist from the alchemy cauldron sect. Many people wanted to curry favor with him. "Then why don't you give up your seat?" Muyu asked back. The man was suddenly speechless. Their dishes had just been served. He was just reminding them out of kindness, but he was rejected. He angrily glared at Muyu and turned his head to continue eating. "Do you know who wants to sit in your seat?" The young man coldly asked. "Do you know who is sitting in this seat?" Muyu pursed his lips. The onlookers suddenly went into an uproar. Why didn't they think of it? This man and beast were only at the 9th heavenly layer of the Gold Core realm. They actually dared to challenge an alchemist of the alchemy cauldron sect. This meant that the other party must have some status. Maybe he was a young master of a big sect who came out alone. No wonder he was so confident. The young man frowned. He also thought of this point, but he didn't want to retreat just because of a few words from the other party. That would be too shameful for the alchemy cauldron sect. No matter what, the alchemy cauldron sect was not inferior to the 8 gates. He didn't have any scruples. "Who are you?" the young man asked in a deep voice. "Why should I tell you?" Muyu mischievously laughed. "You? Xiaohua, what's going on?" A gentle voice sounded behind the young man. The old man with white hair and a ruddy complexion walked over with a walking stick. He looked kind and amiable, giving people a feeling that amiability brought wealth. The lazy and delicate youth beside him curiously sized up Muyu and yawned from time to time. Xiaohua, why did you come up with such a cute name? Muyu opened his eyes wide. He thought that he had misheard. Then he burst out laughing. Such a man actually came up with such a feminine name. It was simply not compatible with his appearance. You're courting death. Xiaohua was furious. His gaze stopped at the pile of bones. A nimble qi gushed out from his body and used it on the table in front of Muyu. Then, a chicken bone flew out of thin air and flew towards Muyu's mouth. Muyu snatched the chicken leg from Xiao Shuai's mouth and mysteriously threw it towards the bone. Qi. A muffled sound was heard. The two spirit qi collided with each other. The bone and the chicken leg turned into ashes at the same time and scattered on the table. Xiaohua was slightly surprised. Although he did not kill and only wanted to teach Muyu a lesson, this was not something that a cultivator in the Jindan period could easily receive. In fact, if it was the Muyu a few months ago, he would not be able to receive it. However, in the past few months, his strength was getting stronger and stronger. There was a faint trend of him breaking through to the nascent soul stage. Therefore, he was still able to handle it. Stop, the old man said indifferently. Since there is someone here, let's go somewhere else to sit. Don't force him. He could be considered a sensible person. I'm full. Xiao Shuai, let's go. Since this out-of-body stage old man had spoken, Muyu did not want to continue making trouble. He was not afraid of nascent soul stage cultivators. After all, even if he could not defeat them, he could still run away. However, it was better for him not to provoke out-of-body stage cultivators. However, Xiao Shuai was not willing. He jumped onto Muyu's head and bared his fangs and claws. He said to Xiao Hua in dissatisfaction, "Compensate me for the chicken leg. Don't think that you don't have to compensate me just because you were poisoned. Also, you old man, are you in cahoots with him? Even if you were poisoned, give me back my chicken leg first." Muyu had just thrown the chicken leg out of Xiao Hua's mouth, but it was smashed into powder by Xiao Hua. That was his last chicken leg. He had ordered so many chicken legs, but they were all eaten by Xiao Shuai. Poison. Muyu blinked his eyes. He carefully sensed his body and suddenly realized that Xiao Hua and the medicine master behind him had a lot of wood dregs in their bodies. When a person consumed herbs, the ingredients of the herbs would flow through the meridians to all parts of the body, searching for areas that needed treatment. The excess ingredients of the herbs would be easily expelled from the body. Those that could not be expelled would stay in the meridians and become wood dregs. Logically speaking, even if an ordinary person ate herbs every day, they would not have so much wood dregs. However, the amount of wood dregs in these two people's bodies was obviously abnormal. If the wood dregs were not expelled in time, it would seriously damage the body and affect the flow of spiritual energy in the body. Feng Haochen had once said that there was a disadvantage to being an alchemist, and that was the slow progress of their cultivation. This was because they often had to deal with pills. When refining pills, they needed to guide the various spiritual energy components of the pills into their body and use their spiritual energy to refine them before guiding them out. The ingredients of the pills would more or less remain in the body. Over time, it would block the meridians and affect their body, making it difficult for them to make breakthroughs in their cultivation. Most cultivators only knew that being an alchemist was extremely glorious and had a respected status. However, they did not know that they had to pay a high price for this status. It was impossible for them to expel the wood dregs because the excessive amount of wood dregs had already merged into their meridians. The negative effects of the wood dregs would cause their cultivation to be greatly reduced. Many people only realized this problem after becoming an alchemist. As the saying goes, you can't have your cake and eat it too. If an alchemist wanted status, they would have to give up their cultivation. If they wanted cultivation, they would not choose to become an alchemist. The more pills they had refined and the higher the grade of the pills, the more wood dregs they would have in their body and the greater the impact they would be subjected to. There were very few people who could take care of both. Otherwise, why would it be said that those 5th and 6th stage alchemists were rare existences? You said they were poisoned? The surrounding people suddenly laughed. Little guy, these two are alchemists. How could they be poisoned? If they were poisoned, they would have refined a few pills to detoxify themselves. Everyone knew that alchemists dealt with pills every day. How could they be poisoned? Little Handsome looked like a little squirrel. Demonic beasts that could talk were rare, but it was not impossible. There were many demonic beasts that had the ability to talk. Many princesses and young masters liked to raise such pets, so it was not strange. You don't believe me? Little Handsome was anxious. He pointed at the old man and said, "You have been poisoned the most. The wood dregs on your chest are the most. Every rainy day, you will be short of breath and your chest will be stuffy. Every night, your left lower abdomen will hurt for a while." And when Muyu saw that Little Handsome was starting to show off his knowledge, he hurriedly pulled Little Handsome down and covered his mouth. This was other people's privacy, especially an out-of-body stage alchemist. What they did not like the most was for others to know about their discomfort. If they could not treat it themselves, how could they have the face to refine pills for others? If this was spread out, their reputation would be ruined. I'm sorry. He had eaten too much chicken drumstick today and was a little drunk. When someone tried to snatch his drumstick, he liked to talk nonsense. How about this? I'll give his seat to you. Let's meet again. Muyu laughed as he stood up and walked towards the stairs. The surrounding people obviously thought that this little guy was talking nonsense. No one would suspect that an out-of-body stage alchemist would have such symptoms. They all thought that Muyu's explanation was true. However, the old man looked at Little Handsome meaningfully. He seemed to be thinking about something. "Guest, your vegetables." The waiter carried a pot of vegetables and shouted from behind. Chapter 137. Tian Ran was unconscious for a whole day. Muyu wanted to find someone to check on Tian Ran, but little Shuai said that she would wake up on her own and that there was no need to worry. Muyu had no choice but to believe little Shuai. He slept on the table for the whole night and would wake up from time to time to check on Tian Ran. The next day, Muyu grabbed another window seat early in the morning. This time, in order to prevent others from snatching the seat, he chose a table for two and continued the great undertaking he had heard about. Little Shuai always wanted to eat drumsticks and didn't get tired of it. Muyu gave it an idea to wander around the kitchen and take whatever it liked to eat. He knew little Shuai's ability. This fellow was very fast and wouldn't be caught. As long as it was smart and didn't eat in front of others, it would be fine. As for the spirit stones, Muyu felt that it would be enough to compensate the shopkeeper when the time came. Muyu liked to listen to the conversations of the customers passing by or look at the various self-cultivators on the street. Fortunately, Feng Haochen had told them a lot about the world of self-cultivators before, so he didn't have to act like a country bumpkin entering the city and not know anything. Muyu was listening to two self-cultivators from the Jindan period next door. They were talking about a certain ruffian from the evil sect who peeked at the saintess of the Jade sect bathing and was chased all over the world with a sword. They also talked about how the young master of the Stargate was flirting with women everywhere, but people were angry but didn't dare to say anything. They also talked about the mysterious disappearance of a certain saintess of the Red Dust sect and the floating immortal island card. Muyu found all the gossip of the world of self-cultivators very interesting. The third continent wasn't a remote place like the Mayun mountain range. It was vast and boundless and had many experts. Miraculous things happened every day. However, at this moment, the sound of quarreling and the shopkeeper's persuasion suddenly came from the door. Tu Hongxian, don't go too far. Don't think that our carefree sect is easy to bully. A middle-aged man with a face full of anger stared at the young man in black in front of him. "Huh, Chong Ming, you injured my God Destruction Valley's people, and you won't let it go just like that?" Tu Hongxian gave Chong Ming a fake smile. "Both of you, please don't get angry." The shopkeeper pleaded from the side. These two people were both Yuanying stage cultivators. The shopkeeper couldn't afford to offend them. Muyu understood from the discussions of the others that the God Destruction Valley and the Carefree sect were old enemies. Whenever they met, they would find a few excuses to fight for fun. Muyu reckoned that they were about to fight. Fights between nascent soul stage cultivators were very loud, But there were so many people here, including many nascent soul stage and out-of-body stage cultivators. They didn't dare to fight seriously and could only fight with their fists and feet. These days, it was not easy to open a shop. The enmity between the sects was very hard to explain. If they accidentally bumped into each other in an inn, they would start fighting. Some inn shopkeepers would invite experts to suppress the situation and force the people who were fighting to fight outside. Some inn shopkeepers couldn't afford to invite experts. If the people who were fighting were from a powerful sect, then it would be sad. They couldn't persuade them, but they could not persuade them either. When a shopkeeper was dealing with a fight, if he met a rich person who said, "Don't worry about it, I will pay for the damage," he would feel relieved. If he met a rich person who didn't say anything and didn't say whether he wanted to pay for the damage, he would have to report it to the city lord mansion. Sometimes, it would be hard to get back the cost. Muyu looked at Chang Ming, who was waving a huge sword, and Tu Hong Xian, who was playing with a big stick with great interest. The two of them were fighting happily. They consciously restrained their aura. Many people were just watching the show. As long as the aftermath of the fight didn't affect them, they would be happy to watch the show. Muyu noticed that the people from the Pill Cauldron School from yesterday were sitting opposite him. The old man also noticed Muyu and nodded slightly. Muyu was stunned for a moment and quickly returned the greeting. This old man actually greeted Muyu. It was really rare. However, when he saw comrade Little Flower, his dead mother face, Muyu rolled his eyes. Noisy, scram, or die. A cold and emotionless voice suddenly sounded in the inn, and a flying sword abruptly appeared between Tu Hong Xian and Chang Ming along with his voice. Both of them stopped what they were doing, and for a moment, they were actually frightened. Bleak, killing intent filled the entire inn, causing everyone's expression to change greatly. That flying sword was piercingly cold and tyrannical, cold and arrogant to the bone, without any vitality. It was like a lone pine tree at the peak of a mountain, revealing its sharpness, causing the inn to become absolutely silent in an instant. The two people fighting were so scared that their faces turned pale. Death had just brushed past them. If they deviated even a little bit, their souls would have gone to the 9 heavens. This ordinary flying sword could have ended their lives just now. They could even feel the cold smell of blood coming from the flying sword. Muyu carefully looked at the flying sword that had suddenly appeared. Even he could see that this flying sword was made of the most common iron. There were several nicks and holes on the body of the sword. Muyu felt that this sword was comparable to his own broken sword. The person who used this sword didn't care about his own sword at all. Nameless swordsman. After Tu Hong Xian and Chang Ming saw the appearance of this sword, their backs were instantly soaked with sweat. They knew that they had disturbed a terrible person. Many people also exclaimed. Everyone seemed to know this sword. Oh my God, it's the Nameless Swordsman? It's actually him. Why is he here? It can't be wrong. This broken iron sword and this terrible murderous intent. It's the legendary person who used an iron sword to travel the world. Everyone looked around, trying to find where the Nameless Swordsman was sitting and resting. It must be that the two people's fight had disturbed his meal, so he had to drive them away. No one saw where the sword flew out from, and no one knew which person was the Nameless Swordsman. Many people only knew of his reputation, but had never seen him in person. Nameless Swordsman, sorry to offend you. Tu Hong Xian and Chang Ming's faces were pale. They were very lucky that the Nameless Swordsman didn't kill them. The rumors about the Nameless Swordsman in the cultivation world were that some famous person died at the hands of the Nameless Swordsman. Some genius challenged the Nameless Swordsman and was killed. If the Nameless Swordsman killed these two people today, then their deaths would be in vain. The Nameless Swordsman was not someone to be trifled with. Even the people of the 8 Gates were very afraid of him. The two didn't dare to say another word. They scrambled out of the inn. The sword disappeared as quickly as it came. It was as if the Nameless Swordsman had never appeared. No one found the owner of the sword. Soon, the inn became lively again. Everyone began to discuss a new topic, which was the legendary Nameless Swordsman. This Nameless Swordsman was a legend in the cultivation world. He entered the Tao with an ordinary iron sword. The iron sword was not mixed with any metal used for refining. It was completely made of ordinary iron. However, he used this iron sword to travel the world. Cultivators used spiritual power to fight. The iron sword couldn't withstand the fluctuations of spiritual power at all. However, the owner of the iron sword could use the iron sword to defeat many heroes. It was clear how profound the sword user's martial arts were. The surface of the sword looked a little rusty. There were many gaps and even dents. Only those who had fought with the nameless swordsman knew how terrifying it was. It was said that once someone left a mark on the nameless swordsman, that person would definitely die with the nameless swordsman. No one knew the name of the person who used the sword. Those who had seen him didn't dare to ask. In the end, everyone simply called him the nameless swordsman. Muyu quietly listened to all the information about the nameless swordsman. He couldn't help but look around. He wanted to see what the nameless swordsman looked like. There were several people dressed as chivalrous people quietly drinking their wine in a corner. There was a person in ragged clothes who didn't even lift his head to look at his food. There was a middle-aged man who was wiping his sword. Muyu paid attention to these people because he felt that only those who didn't participate in the discussion were most likely to be the cold type of the nameless swordsman. Muyu, I'm full. Xiao Shuai appeared out of nowhere and jumped onto Muyu's shoulder. In his hand was a green leather book that was about the same size as his head. He used the green leather book to pat Muyu's face and said seriously, I brought you a pill scripture. Hurry up and refine a few pills for me to eat. Muyu was speechless. He only asked this guy to go to the kitchen to eat something, but he actually stole someone else's pill scripture. Muyu wasn't a philanthropist. Recently, many alchemists had gathered in Lanxi City to participate in the pill trial. Since Xiao Shuai worked so hard to steal this pill scripture, it should be worth a lot. It might even be a method to refine pills. Muyu happened to be very interested in refining pills after hearing a lot about the pill trial in alchemists. Xiao Shuai had brought him what he wanted. Muyu took the pill scripture. The cover of this book was made of a hard green leather. On the cover, there are only two bold and powerful words, pill scripture. He casually flipped open this pill scripture. There were some words on the first page, but someone had scribbled on it, drawing a girl. However, Muyu could see that this person's drawing skills were terrible. If the person in the drawing wasn't wearing a skirt, he wouldn't have thought that it was a girl. The second page had a big pool of ink, the third page had a pile of feces drawn on it, and the next few pages introduced the refining method of pills. They all had ugly scribbles. Muyu flipped through for a long time and finally found a complete page without any scribbles. It was about the refining method of the Qi concealing pill. He carefully read it out. Qi concealing pill, a 4th level pill. The user can conceal his own cultivation level. When fighting with others, use a high-level cultivation level to disguise as a low-level cultivation level to paralyze the opponent, catch them off guard, and defeat them. Required spiritual herbs. Bo Wu flower, 200 to 300 years old, 231 years old is the best. Luo sea grass. There is no limit to its age. It only needs to be harvested during the night of a full moon. Muyu felt that this Qi concealing pill was a little interesting. It could hide his own cultivation level. Muyu practiced the Luo Qin sword art. He could control his own cultivation level to deceive others. So the Qi concealing pill was useless for him. Not all cultivators could hide their cultivation level. Some sects had planted spies who did not know how to hide their cultivation level. Once they made a move, they would be exposed. This pill was very suitable for them. Muyu had never heard of herbs. He only knew the characteristics of the herbs he had come into contact with. He didn't know what the herbs were used for. He didn't even know if he had seen the herb before. What could he know from the name? 4th level pills meant that ordinary alchemists simply couldn't refine them. Moreover, this Qi concealing pill was useless for him. Muyu had no interest in it and continued to look at the next pill. He was engrossed in looking at the effects of the exploding pill. The exploding pill was not something to eat, but according to the mutual rejection of the herbs, it was detonated by using spiritual power. It was something that was specialized in fighting. This thing was an essential pill for alchemists. After all, alchemists' fighting strength was equal to 0 in the eyes of people of the same realm. If there was an exploding pill, they could still protect themselves. Sorry to disturb you. A lazy voice sounded in Muyu's ear, startling Muyu. What? Muyu collected his expression and calmly raised his head. He found that the one standing in front of him was the sloppy youth who followed the medicine master yesterday. He remembered that the origin of the pill scripture in his hand was unknown. It couldn't be that the owner had found it, right? The pill scripture you took is mine. The youth laughed and pointed at the green book in Muyu's hand, then pointed at himself. It really was the owner who had found it. Muyu froze for a moment. He fiercely glared at Xiao Shuai. This guy wouldn't steal these people's things, right? He really didn't want his life. Yesterday, he had a conflict with them, and today he was actually caught red-handed. Not to mention that the other party was an honorable alchemist. Just the cultivation level of comrade Xiao Hua and that medicine master was enough to give him a headache. Stealing things was a disgraceful thing. More importantly, he was caught red-handed. You say it's yours, so it's yours? There's no name on the book. Why do you say it's yours? Muyu planned to deny it. Chapter 138. Muyu flipped to the last page. There were 2 crooked words written on it, Kai Lai. These 2 words were as ugly as they could be. They looked like crawling earthworms. Rather than calling it a name, it looked more like graffiti. Why didn't you write your name on the front page? Muyu's face was full of black lines. Who would have thought that this guy would really write his name on this book? And he even wrote it on the last page. He really wanted to grab little Shuai and beat him up. He really did steal something from him. Do I have to write my name on the front page? It was just convenient, so I wrote it on the last page. Besides, other than me, no one else has the habit of writing their name on a book. Kai Lai stretched lazily. He didn't seem to care that his item had been stolen. Kai Lai? Why is this name so weird? Happy and cheerful? Don't tell me you have a brother called Xingao? Muyu muttered casually. How did you know? I have a brother in the Earth Imperial sect. His name is Xingao. Do you know my brother? Kai Lai smiled honestly. Damn, you really do have one? Happy and cheerful. Who would be so bored as to give you such weird names? Muyu was speechless. My father. He said that life should be happy and cheerful. Kai Lai was probably used to people joking about his brother's name. He himself also thought that their names were very funny. Then you're also from the Earth Imperial sect. My brother is from the Earth Imperial sect. The Earth Imperial sect is always with demonic beasts. I don't like demonic beasts, so my brother used his connections to send me to the Pill Cauldron sect. After talking for a while, Kai Lai felt that the topic had gone off topic. He wasn't familiar with Muyu, so why was he talking to him about this? Who are you? Why do you have my pill cauldron? Kai Lai returned to the topic. His gaze was a little erratic as he looked at the medicine master behind him from time to time. Muyu laughed dryly, thinking that he had to teach Xiao Shuai a lesson later. He was even caught red-handed stealing. Could he be any more stupid? Little handsome, where did you pick it up? Muyu didn't even blush as he replaced the word steal with pick up. If he hadn't been recognized by the owner, he wouldn't have asked this question at all. Picking it up sounded better than stealing it, although he felt that the possibility of little Shuai picking it up was not high. Who would be so free as to throw away such an important thing like the Dan scripture? I picked it up from the roof of the inn. Just now, I smelled the smell of roasted duck on the roof, so I followed the smell and ran over. In the end, I don't know who ate a lot of duck bones on the roof, and beside them was this pill scripture. Little Shuai said innocently, I knew it. Last night, I was reading diligently on the rooftop. Later, I was too tired and forgot to bring it when I came down. Kai Lai suddenly coughed twice and raised his voice. It seemed like he was deliberately saying this for someone to hear. There was no moon last night, so what were you reading? This pill scripture is full of scribbles. What are you looking at? Muyu smelled the pill scripture, and there seemed to be a strange smell. It seems like there is also the smell of strong liquor. You are reading and drinking wine while eating roast duck? So enjoyable. Kai Lai winked at Muyu with all his might, indicating for him to stop talking. However, the medicine master behind him suddenly frowned. Kai Lai, did you secretly drink wine last night? You even used the pill scripture as a cushion to put the roast duck, didn't you? No, master. I love this book so much that I treat the pill scripture as a family heirloom. How could I do something so excessive? Kai Lai turned his head and flatly denied it, his eyes darting everywhere as if he had a guilty conscience. Muyu knew that his master's guess was not far from the truth. This guy's love for books was pure nonsense. The scribbles on the pill scripture must have been randomly scribbled while listening to his master's lecture. "Young friend, can you let this old man have a look at this pill scripture?" The medicine master asked gently as he extended his hand towards Muyu. Kai Lai hurriedly shook his head imperceptibly at Muyu and made all sorts of funny faces, hinting that Muyu should not hand it over. Otherwise, he would definitely be scolded. Muyu felt that Kai Lai was quite an interesting person and immediately understood. He smiled mischievously and said, "Old man, I think it's better if I return this book to its rightful owner. You know each other anyway, so if you want to see it, you can take it from him." Muyu threw the pill scripture to Kai Lai. Kai Lai quickly stuffed the pill scripture into his heaven and earth up sleeve as if he had received a treasure, afraid that someone would snatch it away. "Master, this pill scripture was written by you, so what's the point of looking at it? Come. If there's anything you don't understand, I'll explain it to you," Kai Lai said with a smile. The medicine master looked at Kai Lai with disappointment. "How can you be so careless with my painstaking efforts? How can you casually throw away something like this? What if it gets leaked? How can the pill cauldron sect's secret alchemy be casually shown to outsiders? Don't you know that this is against the sect's rules?" Kai Lai scratched his head. "Master, don't try to scare me. That pill scripture doesn't even have the slightest bit of information about you. It's useless even if someone else has it." Xiao Hua suddenly said, "Master, this person has already seen our pill scripture. The secrets of the pill cauldron sect cannot be leaked. According to the rules, shouldn't we gouge out his eyes?" Muyu was shocked. Little Blossom had a quarrel with him yesterday, and now that he said this, he definitely had the suspicion of taking revenge for a personal grudge. If he really made a move, Muyu wouldn't be his opponent even if he was beaten to death. He would have to be prepared to run away at any time. "Little Blossom, I have no enmity with you. It's meaningless to say that you want to gouge out people's eyes. We're all kind people. How can you have the heart to say such things?" Muyu took a step back and said vigilantly. He was prepared to quickly retreat at the slightest disagreement. This little friend did it unintentionally. There's no need to do such a thing that would harm others. If little friend has the time, there's no harm in coming over for a gathering. This old man is actually a little interested in what little friend said yesterday, the medicine master said with a smile. Yesterday, Muyu didn't say anything at all. The medicine master's symptoms were casually mentioned by Xiao Shuai. The medicine master probably thought that it was Muyu who told the little beast about it. After all, no spirit beast would have this kind of ability. Xiao Shuai just so happened to mention the medicine master's hidden illness. If it was nonsense, then it would be too much of coincidence. He even knew about the medicine master's left lower abdomen for a while every night. This was too inconceivable. "You should postpone your meeting with him for a while. Can a medicine master come with me outside the city?" A figure suddenly appeared in between Muyu and the medicine master. His back was facing Muyu. He was holding a sword in his hand. The sword was wrapped in a piece of cloth, and only the hilt was exposed. This person's back gave Muyu a feeling of vicissitudes. It was as if he had experienced many years of wind and frost. However, he didn't look very old. He only looked to be in his 30s. His long hair was casually tied up. He stood there as if the people around him had become a foil. Muyu was shocked by the sudden appearance of this person. When he came back to his senses, this person had already disappeared. Along with him, the medicine master also disappeared. Where did my master go?" Kai Lai was also very surprised. He didn't think that someone would kidnap his master in front of so many people. "I'll be back soon. You guys wait here." The medicine master's voice echoed in the surroundings. Is that guy the nameless swordsman? Muyu's mind popped up with this idea. However, there was no way to verify it. Kai Lai helplessly shrugged his shoulders and sat across from Muyu. Xiao Hua, on the other hand, snorted and disdained to sit together with Muyu. He returned to his seat at the table from before. They weren't nervous about the medicine master's sudden departure. In this world, no one dared to harm the medicine master of the Danding sect. Right? I still don't know your name. Muyu. Kai Lai and Muyu quickly chatted. The two of them regretted not having met earlier. Muyi was a person who did as he pleased, while Kai Lai was a lazy person. They both hated being bound by rules and regulations. The two of them were simply birds of a feather. According to Kai Lai, the reason why his master could tolerate him ignoring the sect rules was because he was innately intelligent. He was very talented in alchemy and was a rare genius of the Danding sect. He was only in the Jindan period, but he could already refine fourth-grade pills. It was no wonder that he was highly regarded by the medicine master. Muyi was still a little skeptical. This guy casually placed a book like the Pill Mantra and even scribbled on it. Was he really a good material to learn alchemy? Muyi didn't tell Kai Lai where he came from. He only said that he came from an unknown small sect and came out to gain experience. The other party didn't suspect anything. Kai Lai said that he didn't like to be forced to refine pills all day and prefer to sleep in. However, his master was always behind him with a whip and urging him. When Muyu heard this, he thought, "Damn, he's a kindred spirit." If it wasn't for Enshu waking up earlier than a rooster to supervise him, he might have slept until the sun was high in the sky. "No, I have to treat you to a drink." Kai Lai felt more and more that he and Muyu were close friends after not seeing each other for a long time. They had the same view on many things. "I don't know how to drink." Muyu declined. The only difference between him and Kai Lai was that Kai Lai was a drunkard. He was so young, yet he was so addicted to alcohol. "It's just drinking. Roast duck with new hong, the most beautiful thing in the world. I don't dare to drink too much. If I drink too much, I'll be scolded by my master. Drinking a little is good for the mood. Drinking too much is bad for the body. How can we not drink when we're talking about our feelings?" Kai Lai had already asked the waiter to serve a large jar of wine. Little Handsome tasted a mouthful and stuck out his tongue, cursing and swearing, not wanting to drink a second mouthful. Muyu thought for a moment and also tried to drink a little. He found that the taste was not bad. Although it was spicy, after drinking it, his body felt warm, making him feel as if he was floating in the air. It was a well-known fact that drinking alcohol was bad for the body. Muyu thought back to the time when he didn't drink a single drop of alcohol. He found that he was a good child who cherished his body. "Oh right, you're an alchemist. I have a friend who has been unconscious for a long time. I don't know where her injuries are. Can you help me take a look?" Muyu took a small sip of wine and asked. Alchemists were not only very familiar with the characteristics of herbs, they were also very familiar with the body of a cultivator. This way, they would know what kind of effect a pill would have on different people. Since Kai Lai was a genius alchemist from the Danding sect, he might be able to help. Tian Ran had already been unconscious for a day and a night, and there were still no signs of her waking up. Muyu was also very helpless. "Okay, I'll help you take a look." Kai Lai readily agreed. Xiaohua looked at Muyu with a murderous expression. However, he was too lazy to care about what Kai Lai did. He just quietly ate his food. Muyu immediately brought Kai Lai upstairs. He opened the door to his room and led Kai Lai to Tian Ran's bed. Kai Lai stuck his head out and glanced at Tian Ran. His originally leisurely expression suddenly changed. He practically jumped up and took a step back. A flying sword had already appeared in his hand, and he pointed it at Muyu. "What are you doing?" Muyu looked at Kai Lai in confusion. Just a moment ago, everything was fine. Why did he pull out a sword in the blink of an eye? "Why is the Red Dust Sect's holy maiden in your room? Speak. Are you a human trafficker?" Kai Lai angrily said. "Red Dust Sect's holy maiden? Human trafficker?" Only now did Muyu vaguely remember that when he heard other people gossiping about the world of cultivators, there was news about the disappearance of the Red Dust Sect's holy maiden. Chapter 139. The Saintess of the Red Dust Sect? Are you talking about Tian Ran? Muyu nodded thoughtfully. Tian Ran had inherited the talent of the third stage True God Lu. Her cultivation and talent were extraordinary. If she was chosen as the Saintess of the Red Dust Sect, it would make sense. However, Kai Lai felt that Muyu's reaction was too casual. He even acted as if he didn't care, so he became angry. "Don't play dumb. Tell me the truth. Why did you kidnap Tian Ran?" Kai Lai was half sober when he saw Tian Ran. He shouted very seriously. Judging from his appearance, he seemed to have a good relationship with Tian Ran. You know Tian Ran too? That's easy. Hurry up and help me see what happened to Tian Ran. She's been unconscious for a long time. I really don't know what to do. Muyu pulled out Kai Lai's sword and sat on the edge of Tian Ran's bed. He touched Tian Ran's forehead. Fortunately, besides being unconscious, Tian Ran didn't have a fever. Don't touch her. What did you do to Tian Ran? Don't you know that the Red Dust sect has been looking for her? If the Red Dust sect knew that Tian Ran was in a strange man's room, you'd be dead for sure. Kai Lai's face was full of seriousness. The third continent was ruled by 8 sects, including the Jade sect, the Red Dust sect, the Stargate, the Solitary Fiend sect, the Life and Death sect, the Gate of Hell, the Earth Emperor sect, and the Profound Spirit sect. These 8 sects were powerful and deeply rooted. They were unshakable existences on the third continent. As the saintess of the Red Dust sect, Tian Ran's status was incomparably noble. However, she had gone missing for a year. Her disappearance caused a huge uproar in the cultivation world. The Red Dust sect had put in a lot of effort to find the saintess. Anyone who found the whereabouts of the saintess could enter the Red Dust celestial pool and cultivate for a year. They could also fulfill one person's request if it was within their ability. Leaving everything else aside, the reward offered by the Red Dust sect alone was enough to drive a large number of cultivators crazy. It was said that the Red Dust Fairy Pond was one of the holy lands of the Red Dust sect. Only core disciples were allowed to enter. It was said that the worldly sacred ground was an ancient secret place that contained countless precious magic treasures and cultivation methods. Those with great luck could obtain them. The origin of the Red Dust sect was thousands of years ago. The founder of the Red Dust sect, the Red Dust Taoist, had found the supreme cultivation method, the Red Dust Lotus Technique, in the Red Dust sacred ground. This cultivation method was very mysterious and powerful, and had also established the Red Dust sect's position in the third layer continent. The Red Dust Holy Land was regarded as a forbidden area by the Red Dust sect. Those who were not talented were not allowed to enter. It was even more impossible for outsiders to enter. However, in order to find Tian Ran, the Red Dust sect actually offered such a generous reward. It was no wonder that so many people were so crazy about it. Unfortunately, after a year of searching for Tian Ran in the cultivation world, there was still no news of her. Who would have thought that their saintess was in a young man's room at this moment? Muyu didn't care about this. He also didn't know what Tian Ran meant to the Red Dust sect. Right now, the most important thing was to wake Tian Ran up. I didn't do anything to Tian Ran. Hurry up and take a look for me. If you have any questions, can't you wait until she wakes up and ask her yourself? Muyu stood up and walked to the side. He didn't know how to explain to Kai Lai that he had somehow been accused of being a human trafficker. Moreover, from the sound of it, if he was caught by the Red Dust sect, he would have to run for his life. Kai Lai walked over suspiciously and put his hand on Tian Ran's pulse. Then, he frowned and looked at Muyu vigilantly. Then, he took out an exquisite wooden box. This wooden box was full of spiritual energy. There were mysterious patterns engraved on its body. Some of the patterns flashed faintly, indicating that there was a formation placed on it. The things inside must be very precious. He opened the wooden box. There were many small compartments inside, and each compartment contained a pill the size of a fingertip. Kai Lai took out a brown pill and fed it to Tian Ran. Then, he circulated the spiritual energy in his hand to help Tian Ran dissolve the pill's medicinal effects. Tian Ran's body is very unstable. She suffered a great shock, which caused her to be unable to gather her spiritual energy. Normally, it would take several days for her to recover. I gave her a quick recovery pill. It will help her recover faster. She should wake up in a while. Kai Lai put away the wooden box. His eyes still didn't leave Muyu. Obviously, he still didn't believe Muyu's words and was afraid that he would run away. After about 2 hours, Tian Ran finally moved and slowly opened her eyes. Tian Ran, you're awake? That's great. Muyu breathed a sigh of relief and walked over to help Tian Ran up. Hey, don't touch her, Kai Lai said. Big brother Muyu, what happened to me? Where's this place? Hey, senior brother Kai Lai, why are you here? Tian Ran touched her head. She still felt a little uncomfortable, and her head was a little swollen. Tian Ran, where have you been for more than a year? Do you know that the people of your Red Dust sect were worried sick? Before you went missing, you came to find me. In the end, your senior sisters came to my door every day. They annoyed me to no end. Kailai couldn't wait to ask. The Danding sect was a place that specialized in training alchemists. Disciples of other sects would also go to the Danding sect to learn alchemy knowledge. This was something that had to be tested by the Danding sect. Tian Ran came from the Red Dust sect and had also studied at the Danding sect. That was why she knew Kailai. I'm with Big Brother Muyu. I'm fine. Tian Ran shook her head and said, He's with you. How come you're like this and he's fine? Kailai said, We encountered some very troublesome things. Let's not talk about it. Big Brother Muyu is a good person. He helped me a lot. Tian Ran forced a smile. All right, I'll believe him for the time being. But you can't run around again. You told the people of your sect that you wanted to study at the Danding sect, but you didn't come. You're also my master's outer disciple. The people of your Red Dust sect are giving my master a headache. You have to go see my master. Kailai pulled a chair and sat down. His lazy expression returned. Muyu and Tian Ran explained where they were now. Tian Ran was also very surprised. If it was a normal journey, it would be a fool's dream to reach here in a day. Yumon's teleportation array could actually do this? Tian Ran knew that Yumon's teleportation array was very important. They still hadn't figured out the origin of the teleportation array, so they didn't discuss it in front of Kailai. After a while, they heard Xiao Hua calling for Kailai outside the door. It seemed that his master, the medicine master, had returned. Kailai ran out. When he came back, the medicine master also hurried in. The moment he came in, he saw Tian Ran sitting by the bed. He quickly walked over. Tian Ran, I've said that your spiritual energy is unstable. How are you? Are you okay? The medicine master didn't allow any explanation. He grabbed Tian Ran's wrist and took her pulse. Master Yao Lao, I'm sorry. I made you worry. Tian Ran said sincerely. The medicine master scolded. Nonsense. You and the people from the Red Dust sect said that you came to learn from me, but you disappeared. Your Red Dust sect almost broke my doorstep. Every few days, they would come to me to ask for you. Your disappearance made your fellow sect members very anxious. However, when he saw that Tian Ran was fine, he let out a sigh of relief. He then asked, Where have you been for the past year? I went out to play. I accidentally got trapped in a valley. Later on, it was Big Brother Muyu who saved me. Tian Ran made up a story. Valley? What kind of valley would trap you? Don't tell me you went to a place like the Withered Tree Valley? The medicine master said helplessly. No. How would I dare to enter the Withered Tree Valley? It's another valley. Tian Ran giggled and said. Muyu had never heard of the Withered Tree Valley. However, from the tone of Tian Ran and the medicine master, it seemed that they were afraid of that place. No matter where you went, it's fine as long as you're back. You're not allowed to go anywhere. Once the alchemy test is over, come back with me. I'll return you to the Red Dust sect. This way, the people from the Red Dust sect won't bother me anymore, the medicine master said firmly. But Tian Ran remembered that she still had to accompany Muyu to the 50-mile garden in the south. No buts. Kailai will not leave your side. The medicine master glared at Kailai and said, Master, why me? Kailai was a very lazy person. Asking this kind of person to look after someone was worse than killing him. Don't tell me you want me to do it? The medicine master scolded. Kailai stuck out his tongue and muttered, Do I have to look after Tian Ran when she's sleeping? It's not good for a man and woman to be alone. I don't have any objections. However, it's hard to say for little sister Tian Ran. It's fine. Muyu and I also slept together with big sister Tian Ran last night. Xiao Shuai had gotten another steam bun from somewhere and was happily munching on it. As soon as he said this, the others immediately stared at Muyu with unkind expressions. Muyu's face turned green. He kicked him and said, What nonsense are you spouting? I slept on the floor the whole night. You shamelessly crawled into someone else's bed. Tian Ran and Muyu had been together for a year. Naturally, she knew what kind of person Muyu was. When Xiao Shuai was at Falling Dust Mountain, he liked to stick to her every day and sleep with her. She didn't mind and said, "It's fine. I believe in Big Brother Muyu. The alchemy test will be held in 3 days. I'm the host of the alchemy test. Xiao Hua needs to help me deal with some matters. Kai Lai, if you don't obtain the qualifications to become a 4th-tier alchemist this time, I'll confine you." The medicine master warned Kai Lai, who was slumped in his chair. Kai Lai rolled his eyes and said, "Master, I know. Kai Lai's cultivation was only at the Jindan period. Logically speaking, with his spiritual power, he shouldn't be able to refine 4th-tier medicinal pills. However, his master was an expert in alchemy in the cultivation world and had higher requirements for him. Although Kai Lai was the medicine master's disciple, the medicine master wouldn't open a back door for Kai Lai. The medicine master looked at Muyu, then smiled and said, "Since little friend Muyu is someone that Tian Ran knows, this old man won't pursue other matters. Seeing that you're young, your cultivation is also top-notch. You can be considered a genius. I wonder where little friend's master is." Muyu cupped his hands and said, "Senior overpraises me. This junior comes from the Falling Dust sect, a small sect that isn't worth mentioning." The medicine master was from the 3rd continent, so he naturally hadn't heard of a small sect like the Falling Dust sect. There are thousands of sects in the 3rd continent, with the 8 sects being the most respected. The Pill Cauldron sect was also a large sect with a rich heritage, but he might not have heard of many small sections. The medicine master nodded approvingly and said, "It's not easy for a small sect to produce a talent like Little Friend. I wonder if Little Friend could come over with this old man for a chat. This old man is very interested in Little Friend's words yesterday." Muyu blinked. The medicine master still hadn't forgotten about yesterday's matter. Presumably, Little Shuai had spoken of his symptoms, and he was now looking for Muyu to ask him about it in detail. Muyu didn't know how to explain on behalf of Little Shuai. He didn't know anything about the medicine master's symptoms. If he pushed all of this to Little Shuai, he wouldn't believe him. Chapter 140. Muyu did not bring Little Shuai over, in case he couldn't control his mouth and spouted some nonsense. If Muyu wanted to smooth things over, it would be even more difficult. Moreover, Little Shuai was someone who had committed some evil deeds in his past life. He was definitely not a simple person. It was better not to let others see any clues. "Young friend, please sit," the medicine master said politely. Xiao Hua snorted. His master was so polite to a rash youth from the Jindan period. He was puzzled. If it were him, he would definitely make Muyu stand there arrogantly. Was Muyu worthy of sitting in front of the medicine master? "Senior, just call me Muyu." Muyu ignored this little flower. He made up his mind that if the medicine master asked about yesterday's incident, he would make up a bunch of nonsense. How could he tell the truth about this kind of thing? "Yesterday, your spirit beast was able to describe the hidden illness on my body so accurately. Presumably, you were the one who said it and it learned it, right?" The medicine master indeed went straight to the point. He didn't notice Little Shuai's abnormality and thought it was just an ordinary spirit beast that knew how to repeat his words. If a person is uneducated, the spirit beast he raised won't be any better. Xiao Hua interrupted. This little flower was really here to cause trouble. Why was his mouth so annoying? Muyu held back and didn't argue with him. He said, "Senior, please forgive me for offending you. I shouldn't have said so much. At that time, I was just making some random guesses." When that fellow heard it, he spoke without thinking and followed suit. "Please forgive me for offending you. No matter. Young friend Muyu is too humble. With young friend Muyu's physique, it's not surprising that you could see the symptoms on my body." The medicine master said slowly. How could he believe that Muyu was just making random guesses? Who would make random guesses and accurately describe the hidden illness on his body? Muyu's heart thumped. What did physique mean? Was it referring to the fact that he could control trees? Muyu couldn't remember when he had shown this ability. Junior is slow-witted. I wonder what Senior is talking about. Muyu asked calmly. The wood chi on your body is very dense. You have a unique wood physique, don't you know? The medicine master saw that Muyu didn't seem to be playing dumb, so he asked, "What constitution?" Muyu was still puzzled. His master had never told him anything about his physique. He only knew that he was gifted, but he didn't know anything about his physique. Grandmaster Medicine stroked his beard and laughed. You never know what kind of cultivator can become an alchemist. Muyu shook his head. He knew very little about alchemy, but he had heard that not every cultivator could become an alchemist. Alchemists were very rare among cultivators, and this was also the reason for their noble status. A country bumpkin is ignorant and inexperienced. How could this kid have heard of such things? Master, you should just say it. Xiao Hua had a sense of superiority as he scoffed at Muyu's words. He was the disciple of the Pill Cauldron Sect's medicine master. He thought that his status as an alchemist was extremely high, and he was still brooding over Muyu's disrespect yesterday. Xiao Hua, don't be rude. Grandmaster Medicine glanced at Xiao Hua with displeasure and continued. The spiritual energy in a cultivator's body is also divided into the 5 attributes of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. These attributes don't affect cultivation during normal times. Cultivators rely on their talent and diligence, and it has nothing to do with the attribute of their spiritual energy. However, alchemists are different. To become an alchemist, the spiritual energy in the body must have outstanding wood and fire attributes. The majority of people's spiritual energy is a mixture of the 5 attributes, where the wood and fire attributes aren't outstanding enough. This is also one of the reasons why alchemists are so rare. Grandmaster Medicine paused and said, the majority of cultivators don't care about the attribute of their spiritual energy. Only us alchemists are different. We usually come into contact with all kinds of herbs, and we also control all kinds of flames. Therefore, we are very sensitive to people with wood and fire attributes. And people like Little Friend Body that only has pure wood attribute spiritual energy are truly rare. Muyu slightly nodded his head. He can control trees, and since there really is a spiritual energy attribute, then it must be wood attribute without a doubt. Grandmaster Medicine didn't discover Muyu's ability to control trees, but he felt the rich would attribute spiritual energy on Muyu's body. This wasn't something to worry about. Pure attribute spiritual energy like this can be said to be very rare. This old man has only seen cultivators with pure metal attribute spiritual energy, and I have never seen anyone else. Although people with pure wood attribute spiritual energy can't become alchemists, they're people that every alchemist wants to find. Grandmaster Medicine sized up Muyu as if he was looking at a perfect treasure, causing Muyu to feel a bit scared in his heart. What does this old man want? When Muyu heard that people with pure wood attribute spiritual energy can't become alchemists, he felt a bit regretful. Master once said that they didn't have the talent for alchemy. It seemed that he was destined to have no fate with this noble career of alchemy. I wonder what alchemists are looking for people with pure would attribute spiritual energy for. Muyu dryly laughed twice, thinking that this old man wouldn't have some weird ideas, right? Could it be that he wants to refine me into an alchemy pill? I'm afraid you also know that us alchemists often use our spiritual energy to guide the medicinal properties of herbs, so our spiritual energy will be contaminated with the residue of herbs. These residue will follow the flow of spiritual energy in our body. If we can't expel it, it will remain in our body and become wood dregs. This kind of thing has a huge impact on the body and will seriously hinder our cultivation. If we can't increase our cultivation, then we won't be able to refine high-level alchemy pills. We alchemists hope to expel the wood dregs out of our body, but we can't do it. Only people with a physique like yours can do it. Feng Haochen had mentioned this to Muyu before, so Muyu wasn't unfamiliar with it. Strictly speaking, the wood dregs weren't tangible, but mixed with the spiritual energy of an alchemist. They existed in the form of spiritual energy in the alchemist's meridians, blocking the alchemist's meridians and causing the circulation of spiritual energy in the alchemist's body to be obstructed. He asked, "How can I help, Senior?" Grandmaster Medicine sighed. Because your spiritual energy is of the wood attribute, your spiritual energy can resonate with the wood dregs and guide them out of your body. I once read in the ancestral records that if a person with a wood attribute physique uses their spiritual energy to circulate through the alchemist's meridians, Then the wood dregs and the meridians will be brought out by their spiritual energy. This can resolve the pain of the alchemist's body being invaded by the wood dregs. And you are the person that we alchemists dream of. After so many years, this old man has finally found someone who can resonate with the wood dregs. Wait a minute. A person who can resonate with the wood dregs? Isn't that human dregs? Muyu wanted to laugh. How could he be human dregs? He said, I don't know how this junior can relieve senior's pain, but as long as this junior can do it, I will definitely do my best. Grandmaster Medicine shook his head. You can't do it now. Your cultivation is too low. If you channel your spiritual energy into my body, I'm afraid that it will be rejected by the spiritual energy in my body and cause harm to yourself. This old man called you here today to help my 2 disappointing disciples form good karma. You should have seen Xiao Hua and Kai Lai. They have very rare talent in alchemy, and in the future, they will be like me, affected by the wood dregs. So, I hope that one day, when they're affected by the wood dregs and their cultivation can improve, you can help them. Xiao Hua said eccentrically, Master, this opportunity should be given to junior brother Kai Lai. I don't know where this brat came from, but I don't feel at ease letting him do this. Grandmaster Medicine looked for Mu Yu to speak for his disciple. This was new, but with Xiao Hua's arrogant attitude, he wouldn't help this fellow even if he was beaten to death. Mu Yu actually didn't feel much with dregs from Kai Lai's body, so he guessed that Kai Lai didn't refine many pills. Grandmaster Medicine's meridians were all blocked by wood dregs, especially in his chest and his left lower abdomen. No wonder Xiao Shuai would say that his chest would feel stuffy every rainy day and his left lower abdomen would hurt for a while every night. This was all caused by the accumulation of wood dregs. As for Xiao Hua, she only had slightly more than Kai Lai. However, Grandmaster Medicine would never think that Mu Yu wasn't an ordinary person. He had the ability of the wood yaman, so he could control things with ease. These wood dregs were also wood elements, and to Mu Yu, removing the wood dregs from Grandmaster Medicine's body wasn't a difficult task. The wood dregs came from herbs, and all herbs were under his control. He didn't need to channel spiritual energy into the other party's body to help guide him. He only needed to move his fingers to solve the problem. However, Mu Yu wouldn't easily display this ability in front of Grandmaster Medicine. There must be something wrong. He wasn't that stupid. Senior, did you just say that I can't become an alchemist? Why is that? Feng Haochen could even create things like slave pills. He must be a powerful alchemist. Just that he said that Mu Yu and the others weren't suitable for alchemy. So he didn't teach them the knowledge of alchemy, and also didn't tell them why they couldn't become alchemists. Xiao Hua interrupted again. The identity of an alchemist isn't something that any random person can become. Mu Yu was getting more and more annoyed with this guy, always sneering at him. Speaking of which, how did he offend him? Yesterday's matter didn't seem to be wrong. He just didn't give up his seat. Was there a need to hold a grudge? There was no one else who was so petty. Xiao Hua, Master is talking to little friend Mu Yu. How can you be like this? Grandmaster Medicine frowned, and then said to Mu Yu, you lack fire element spiritual energy, so you can't accurately control the degree of flame, so you're not suitable for alchemy. But this isn't a bad thing. Although an alchemist's identity is noble, and everyone wants to curry favor with you, in the future, if you're able to have the cultivation of astral projection, I'm afraid that all the alchemists will want to curry favor with you. Misfortune may be a blessing in disguise. Everyone in the cultivation world revered alchemists, but Mu Yu's ability had a miraculous effect on alchemists, and instead, he became a person revered by alchemists. However, his ability could only be flaunted in front of alchemists, and it was useless towards normal people. This was also a case of one thing conquering another, and specific people would curry favor with specific people. Xiao Hua snorted again without commenting. Until now, he still looked down on Mu Yu. Even if his master, Grandmaster Medicine, said so, asking him, a noble alchemist, to curry favor with a brat who came out of nowhere was simply a fool's dream. Even if his master was willing, he also wouldn't lower his face. What's more, if an alchemist asked a cultivator for help, many people would rush over themselves. It had always been others currying favor with alchemists, When would there be alchemists currying favor with others? Muyu shot a glance at Little Blossom. This guy was too self-righteous. He had to think a way to deal with him. Muyu rubbed his chin and pondered for a while. Then he slowly said, "Senior, what if I have a way to help you expel the wood dregs right now?" Grandmaster Medicine's status in the Danding sect was definitely not ordinary. It was extremely rare for him to take the initiative to express goodwill. An alchemist's identity was noble, and being able to know an alchemist was also a fortunate thing for a cultivator. Muyu currently didn't have any background in the Third Heaven continent. If he was able to obtain the favor of an important figure like Grandmaster Medicine, it would also be extremely good for him. "What? You have a way right now?" Grandmaster Medicine said in surprise. "Brat, don't think that just because my master is courteous to you, you can talk nonsense. This isn't something that you can casually flatter." Xiao Hua curled his lips and said. Chapter 141. Little friend Muyu, are you making fun of this old man? With your current cultivation, once your spiritual energy enters my body, it will be rejected by me. Your spiritual energy is too weak. Even if I can suppress my own spiritual energy, it will be of no use. Medicine Master laughed and shook his head. "That's right. Don't overestimate yourself," Xiaohua said coldly. Junior has learned a technique that combines the wood attribute in one's body to sense the wood dregs in other people's bodies. This is also the reason why I can see Senior's body condition. Of course, I also have some confidence in getting rid of the wood dregs. Muyu stood up and cupped his hands. Is Senior willing to let Junior examine the situation? Medicine Master generously extended his hand. Because Muyu's wood attribute was very rich and was a legendary physique, he did not suspect anything. He said, "Little friend, if you want to know the situation, you can first examine it a little. However, do not try to guide it. Otherwise, the consequences will be severe." Medicine Master's palm was extremely rough and even somewhat dry. This was a common symptom of many alchemists. Alchemists used their palms to transfer their spiritual energy into the herbs. After refining the medicinal properties of the herbs, they would then withdraw their spiritual energy. Many alchemists in their later years would have their arms severely deformed. This was caused by the wood dregs. "I'll just try. Senior, please don't laugh at me." Muyu placed his finger on Medicine Master's wrist. His heart moved. Medicine Master's hand also gathered a lot of wood dregs. Moreover, it was extremely serious. Presumably, he would often feel endless pain. The path of an alchemist was truly not easy to walk. Under the glamorous appearance, one would also suffer from the negative effects of their own body. The most ironic thing was that they could refine all kinds of miraculous medicinal pills and bring unexpected surprises to cultivators. However, they had no way to dissolve the medicinal power in their own body. However, even so, there were still many people in the cultivation world who racked their brains to become an alchemist. This was because becoming an alchemist would make one more welcomed by others. Their path in the cultivation world would also be smoother. Of course, Muyu would not transfer his spiritual power into Master Pharmacist's body. All the wood dregs had merged with Master Pharmacist's spiritual power. If he wanted to use Master Pharmacist's method to guide it, it would be equivalent to using his own spiritual power during the Jindan period to filter Master Pharmacist's spiritual power during the out-of-body period. He did not have that ability yet. His confidence was based on his control over plants. The wood dregs also came from plants. He could make the wood dregs automatically peel off from the Medicine Master's spiritual power without any effort. This point naturally couldn't be made too obvious, otherwise it would raise suspicions. However, it was necessary to show off a little to let the Medicine Master know of Muyu's abilities. The spiritual energy in every cultivator's body was constantly circulating. The wood dregs were not only stored in the meridians, but also in the spiritual energy of alchemists. Muyu directly controlled all the wood dregs in the meridians of the Medicine Master's pinky finger and intercepted all the wood dregs flowing through the Medicine Master's pinky finger. Gradually, under the astonished gaze of the great pharmacist, his little finger turned completely green, as if it had turned into a piece of jade, and something was about to spill out. Senior, sorry for the offense. Muyu's finger streaked with a sharp spiritual energy and scratched the medicine master's fingertip. In reality, the medicine master didn't resist. Otherwise, with the medicine master's cultivation, how could his skin be scratched by Muyu? However, it was just a small and inconspicuous cut. Suddenly, a green spiritual energy gushed out from the fingertip. Muyu promptly controlled it in front of his eyes, preventing it from escaping. How is this possible? The medicine master was extremely shocked. Only after experiencing it personally did he know that although this bit of wood dregs was only a hair off 9 oxen compared to the amount of wood dregs in his body, Muyu still managed to do it. He gently moved his pinky finger and discovered that his rusty pinky finger suddenly became nimble. These wood dregs are really troublesome. Under the medicine master's shocked gaze, Muyu gradually compressed the wood dregs into a round ball the size of half a fingernail. This kind of thing was formed by gathering all kinds of herbs. Some herbs would repel each other, allowing their medicinal power to remain in the body and affect the cultivation by more than just a little. How did you do it? The medicine master asked in disbelief. This junior's cultivation method is rather special. It won't repel the spiritual energy in other people's bodies. This was passed down by my master. It's not convenient for this junior to explain. I hope senior will forgive me. Muyu said this without any disrespect. The cultivation method was everyone's secret. Naturally, it had to be kept secret. The medicine master naturally knew this. I really didn't think. The medicine master's shock couldn't be any greater. Muyu glanced at Comrade Little Flower and discovered that Comrade Little Flower's expression of disdain was frozen there. He was now at the nascent soul stage. As the medicine master's disciple, the pills he refined were more than most fourth-tier alchemists. Now he was gradually being affected by the wood dregs in his body. Although it wasn't as big as the medicine master's, it wasn't optimistic. He didn't think that the little country bumpkin he was ridiculing would actually have some skills. I'm afraid that you can only do this much. Xiaohua still wasn't willing to give up. The person he looked down on actually gave him a fierce slap. How would he take this lying down? Muyu raised the medicine master's right hand again. This time, he directly cut off all the wood dregs that were flowing through the medicine master's palm. In order to not arouse suspicion, he deliberately spent an hour. The medicine master's entire palm turned into an ugly dark green color, as if it was poisoned. Muyu did the same thing again. He cut open the medicine master's palm and drew out all the wood dregs, compressing them into a round ball the size of half a thumb. The medicine master's entire body trembled. His face revealed an ecstatic expression. He clearly felt that the jerkiness in his right hand had disappeared. He moved his palm a little. His palm felt as if it had been reborn. That comfortable feeling made him extremely excited. Muyu suddenly staggered 2 steps. Then, he held onto the chair and panted slightly. Little friend Muyu, are you all right? The medicine master hurriedly asked with concern. Muyu was actually able to help him resolve the problem caused by the wood dregs. This made him value Muyu even more. Senior, I'm very sorry. Junior has already used up more than half of my spiritual power to help Senior expel such a small amount of wood dregs. I'm afraid that I can't continue today. Junior feels very guilty for not being able to resolve Senior's problem in one go. Muyu rubbed his temples and said tiredly. This was naturally something he made up. What he used was the ability to control herbs. He didn't use any spiritual power at all. He wasn't that stupid to help the medicine master get rid of the wood dregs on his body in one go. He would first give the medicine master a taste of sweetness and let the medicine master understand his importance. In the future, there would be room for discussion. Who knows, he might even be able to get some precious pills from the medicine master. The future was long. This kind of thing couldn't be rushed. The medicine master needed him. If he spent all his chips in one go, wouldn't that be too stupid? Little friend Muyu, please don't say that. You were able to help this old man get rid of so much wood dregs. This kind of thing can't be rushed. After little friend recuperates for a few days, if you're still willing to help this old man get rid of these wood dregs, this old man will be extremely grateful. The medicine master didn't doubt Mu Yu. In his opinion, Mu Yu was only at the cultivation level of the Jindan period. It was really too difficult for him to do this. With a wave of his hand, he gave a small bottle to Mu Yu and said, "This is the spirit-restoring pill that this old man refined. It is a 5th-level pill. Taking one can instantly replenish the spiritual power lost in your body. If you're in a bitter battle with someone and your spiritual power is exhausted, you can take this pill. It is equivalent to instantly replenishing your spiritual power, and you can fight again." Mu Yu was slightly shocked. This spirit-restoring pill was a treasure. Imagine 2 evenly matched people fighting until the sky turned dark. In the end, they both exhausted their spiritual power. At this time, one of them took the spirit-restoring pill and instantly became lively and energetic, recovering to his original state. How could the opponent who exhausted his spiritual power fight with him again? It was no wonder that alchemists had such a noble status. If one could ask for this kind of pill, it was equivalent to having a backup plan when fighting with others, catching the enemy off guard. "Master, this is quite precious." Xiao Hua couldn't help but remind him. There was no need to doubt the effects of the spirit-restoring pill. He couldn't refine it. This kind of pill that was equivalent to having an extra life was naturally very difficult to refine. The medicine master had only refined 5 of them. Usually, he didn't even give them to his disciples. It was mainly used to refine high-level pills when his spiritual power was insufficient. He actually gave all of them to Mu Yu. Little friend Mu Yu wasted his spiritual power for no reason. How can this old man be stingy? However, this old man advises little friend to cherish this pill. Unless it's a critical moment, don't take it because it will also bring about side effects. After taking the pill, you will instantly recover your spiritual power. However, after 6 hours, you have to find a safe place to rest. After 6 hours, you will be unable to move for about 2 hours. There is no cultivation limit for taking this pill. The higher the cultivation, the better it is for people with higher cultivation. Because the spiritual power in people with higher cultivation is enormous, the amount of spiritual power recovered is also greater. Many elixirs had both advantages and disadvantages. Even so, this elixir was still a treasure that many people fought over. For a cultivator, 6 hours was enough to do a lot of things, and the price was that they couldn't move for 2 hours. How can this junior accept such a precious spirit-restoring pill? Junior is already honored to be able to do something for senior. How can I dare to take senior's things? Senior should keep it for a rainy day. Mu Yu hurriedly declined, pretending to be flattered. Of course, he really wanted it. He still had to say the necessary polite words. "Of course you don't deserve to have this kind of thing," Xiao Hua said angrily in his heart. However, with the current attitude of the medicine master towards Mu Yu, he didn't want to say it out loud and get scolded. The medicine master didn't expect that Mu Yu would refuse such a precious spirit-restoring pill. Who would be courteous to an alchemist when it came to giving pills? He had already accepted it long ago. He didn't expect Mu Yu to still be able to say that. Instantly, his favorable impression of Mu Yu increased greatly. He persisted. "No matter how precious the pill is, it can't compare to what little friend has done for me. If little friend has any difficulties in the future, feel free to tell me. Not to mention other things, I still have the right to speak in the 3 continents. Many people will also give me face." Mu Yu was delighted. Only then did he accept it, saying, "I don't know how long senior will stay in Lanshi City. Due to the special cultivation technique that this junior cultivates, I need 2 to 3 days to recover. This junior can help senior remove some wood dregs every 3 to 4 days to resolve senior's troubles as soon as possible. No hurry, no hurry. You should take care of your body first. Xiao Hua, why aren't you apologizing to little friend Mu Yu quickly? If you neglect him again, when you reach my level in the future, you will know the pain that the wood dregs have caused you," the medicine master said to Xiao Hua with a straight face. Comrade Xiao Hua's expression was as if his mother had died. He was just mocking Mu Yu, and now he had to apologize. Moreover, he was a nascent soul cultivator. Apologizing to Mu Yu during the Jindan period was too embarrassing. He hurriedly said, "Master, Fellow Mu, you must be exhausted. I better send him to rest first. That's good too. Remember to learn some humble qualities from others in the future. Don't be arrogant all the time, the medicine master said. Mu Yu's talent in alchemy was extremely high, but he was too conceited. The medicine master usually didn't care much about this, but at this time, he still had to remind him. After all, Mu Yu wasn't an ordinary person. Chapter 142. 3 days later, Mu Yu once again helped the medicine master clear the wood dregs, resolving his shortness of breath and tightness in his chest that had plagued him for many years. The medicine master was already extremely grateful to Mu Yu, causing Comrade Little Blossom to be especially gloomy. He had always looked down on Mu Yu, but now in front of his master, he did not dare to be too obvious. Otherwise, he would be scolded again. Little Blossom, do your best in today's alchemy test. Mu Yu patted Xiao Hua's shoulder and exhorted like an elder. Xiao Hua's expression was about to freeze. If not for the medicine master telling him to treat Mu Yu well, he would have already given him a slap. I've already passed the 4th-tier alchemy test, Xiao Hua said coldly. That's truly a pity. I won't be able to see Comrade Little Blossom display his skills, Mu Yu said, shaking his head. Xiao Hua could not be bothered to waste words with Mu Yu, and directly left. Kai Lai walked over lazily and said, Brother, my senior brother is a bit arrogant, but his talent in alchemy is really high. Don't underestimate him. Mu Yu obviously would not underestimate this Comrade Little Blossom. How could the medicine master's disciple be common goods? He definitely had some ability. What Mu Yu did not like was Comrade Little Blossom's arrogance. Senior brother Kai Lai, the alchemy test is about to begin. Why aren't you preparing? Tian Ran walked over. These few days, she had already recovered to her original state and became that simple and lively girl again. Kai Lai muttered, This kind of alchemy test is a waste of my time. If I have this time, I might as well have a good sleep. Kai Lai already knew how to refine 4th-tier medicinal pills. The 4th-tier medicinal pills he refined were better than the average 4th-tier alchemist. He always felt that this kind of test was too superfluous. Why did his own ability need to be verified by others? However, this world was often like this. There would always be people who liked to set some standards. Only after you passed the test would others acknowledge your ability. Stop complaining, let's go. I haven't even seen how alchemists refine pills. Mu Yu grabbed the sleeping little Shuai's tail and hung it over his shoulder like a sausage. Then, he went downstairs with the two of them and walked toward the location of the pill test. The elixir test was held in the central plaza of Mist Breath City. This was the place where large-scale events were usually held. At this moment, it was divided into cubicles for 1,000 people. Each cubicle only had a table and nothing else. There were countless onlookers, and most of them were cultivators. Only a small number of mortals were here to join in the fun. Cultivators were not allowed to fly around here. Otherwise, they would be chased out by the city's law enforcement team. Therefore, most people chose to stand on the roof and watch. There are also some shops that specially built viewing platforms on their roofs and charged spirit stones for viewing. According to the Alchemist Grandmaster, the qualifications to become a Tier 4 alchemist were very strict. Out of 1,000 people, it was estimated that less than 100 people would be able to obtain the qualifications. The requirements to become an alchemist were too harsh. However, the status of a Tier 4 alchemist was quite honorable. If he could get to know a few of them, it would be beneficial for him. There were many people who specially came to recruit alchemists for their sections. As long as someone who didn't belong to any sect passed the test and became a Tier 4 alchemist, many people would immediately swarm over and recruit him into their sects with attractive conditions. If a sect had an alchemist, it would significantly increase the strength of the sect's disciples. Many people didn't hesitate to spend a lot of spirit stones to find a suitable viewing platform in order to find potential alchemists. It could be said that the alchemy competition was an opportunity for every alchemist to soar into the sky. If they could become a 4th-ranked alchemist, then their life would take a different path. They would become an alchemist of a sect or family, and their status would be very high. The participants of the elixir test had already entered their cubicles one after another. They all sat cross-legged on the table and adjusted their breathing, preparing to refine a Tier 4 pill in their best condition. Muyu and Tian Ran found a relatively good position. The main reason was that they could see Kai Lai. At this moment, Kai Lai was lying on the table and sleeping soundly. This made them quite speechless. The elixir test was very simple. The head examiner would randomly give the names of several pills to each participant. The participants needed to refine the pills within a specified time. A Tier 5 alchemist would use the medicinal properties of the pills to determine whether or not they were qualified to obtain a certificate. The ingredients of the pills had to be prepared by the participants themselves. Therefore, those who didn't prepare well may lose the qualifications to take the elixir test. This elixir test was presided over by the Grandmaster Alchemist. The Grandmaster Alchemist's status in the Dan Cauldron School was quite high. His appearance also represented the authority of the elixir test. Along with him, there were 5 other Tier 5 alchemists. They didn't come from the Dan Cauldron School. There were also differences between Tier 5 alchemists. There were many types of pills. Becoming a Tier 5 alchemist didn't mean that you could refine all Tier 5 pills. Every Tier 5 alchemist had a few representative pills. As long as one could refine these few pills, they would be considered to have entered the sect. However, many rare pills had a very low success rate. Even master alchemists would fail at refining them. Although the 5 alchemists' refining skills weren't as good as master alchemists, they were still well known in the cultivation world. No one dared to look down on them. The middle-aged man beside Mr. Yao is alchemist Xian Shuyang from the Earth Emperor's sect. He used to be Mr. Yao's outer disciple, just like me. Now, he is on equal footing with Mr. Yao. Tian Ran introduced the alchemists to Muyu one by one. Of course, saying that they are on equal footing is a bit too much. Actually, Mr. Yao's current cultivation is a problem. He can already refine Tier 6 pills. However, every time he refines a Tier 6 pill, he will be weak for a few months. This is because refining Tier 6 pills consumes too much spiritual energy. It isn't something that an out-of-body stage cultivator can bear. Muyu had heard of the Earth Emperor sect. The Earth Emperor sect was one of the 8 sects of the cultivation world. When he first arrived at the 3rd layer continent, he met a man and a woman from the Earth Emperor sect. I heard that the Earth Emperor sect likes to tame demonic beasts. Muyu asked. Tian Ran nodded. The Earth Emperor sect controls demonic beasts. Demonic beasts tamed by humans are called spirit beasts. The Earth Emperor sect can control their own spirit beasts to fight with others. They have a very strong fighting strength. The Tier 5 alchemist Xian Shuyang specializes in refining beast pills. Beast pills are used to increase the fighting strength of spirit beasts. It turned out that alchemists could not only refine pills for humans to consume, but they could also refine beast pills for spirit beasts. This kind of thing was really mysterious. Tian Ran pointed to the gloomy old man on the right side of the medicine master and said, "That is the Tier 5 alchemist of the Stargate. His name is Tian Hen. The Stargate is too arrogant and despotic. I don't like it, especially the young master of the Stargate, Tian Yun. He always likes to touch me. That guy is also here today. He seems to be flirting with Roanna of the Jade Gate." Muyu looked in the direction Tian Ran was pointing. There, a young man in luxurious clothes was talking to a young girl in yellow clothes. The young girl was from the Jade Gate. She was a genius of a Jade Gate. Her cultivation was also in the Jindan period. She was glaring at Tian Yun with a face full of anger. She directly kicked him. Tian Yun hurriedly dodged. Tian Ran turned to Muyu and snickered. Roanna is a very talented person in the Jade Gate. The Jade Gate is the same as our Red Dust sect. They only accept female disciples. She has a very straightforward temper. Tian Yun will only ask for a rebuff. "Yo, little sister Tian Ran. You've been missing for a year, and you've actually appeared here? I was so anxious. I didn't expect you to be talking about me for the past year. I'm so touched." Tian Ran had just finished speaking when a hand touched Tian Ran's shoulder from behind. Tian Ran flung that hand away. She looked at the young man in front of her with an expression as if she had stepped in feces. Tian Yun did manage to flirt with Roanna. He turned around and saw the holy maiden of the Red Dust sect who had disappeared and reappeared. He immediately came over. Tianyun, don't touch me. You're so annoying. It was really a small world. Tian Ran had just mentioned this guy, and he came over. Many self-cultivators at the side immediately exclaimed. According to Tian Yun, this woman was the missing holy maiden of the Red Dust sect? Little sister Tian Ran, long time no see. Did you miss me? Tian Yun was a young man with a slightly pale face. He was about the same age as Muyu. His cultivation was at the 9th level of the Gold Core realm. He was very handsome, but his lustful eyes were restlessly staring at Tian Ran's chest. Do you want to die? Tian Ran's cultivation was at the nascent soul realm. If the other party wasn't the young master of the Stargate, she really wanted to slap this guy to death. Aya, Tian Ran. Look, you're the holy maiden of the Red Dust sect. I'm the future master of the Stargate. We're well matched. Although Tian Yun was the young master of the Stargate, his talent wasn't as good as Tian Ran's. In fact, there were very few people who were as talented as Tian Ran. Hey, behave yourself. Don't touch Tian Ran. Muyu stood in front of Tian Ran. Tian Ran didn't want to touch this guy because of his status. However, Muyu didn't care if he was a master or a window master. Tian Ran was his master's daughter. She was also his junior sister. He wouldn't let anyone bully Tian Ran. Who are you? How dare you meddle in my business? Tian Yin narrowed his eyes and looked at Muyu from head to toe. I don't care what you do, but I won't allow anyone to touch Tian Ran. Muyu frowned. Big brother Muyu, ignore him. Let's go. Muyu might not know this guy's character, but she knew it very well. Tian Yun was the young master of the Stargate. Whether it was his status or his identity, he was extremely noble. No one wanted to provoke this guy. If someone with a background provoked this guy, they would be annoyed to death. If someone without a background provoked this guy, they would be killed. He was a person from the Jinan period. How could his father allow him to run around? Naturally, he would have followers by his side. Go? I don't think so. Sure enough, a nascent soul middle-aged man blocked their way. Tian Yin sneered. Where did you come from? How dare you meddle in my business? If you don't make things clear today, don't leave. Muyu smiled. What's wrong? Do you dare to touch me in the alchemy test? The alchemy test was heavily guarded. There were patrolling cultivators flying around from time to time. Only they were allowed to fly here. Every patrolling cultivator was at least at the nascent soul stage. They specialized in dealing with restless cultivators. At this moment, their actions had attracted the attention of many people. Those nascent soul stage patrolling cultivators had already noticed them. Brat, just you wait. Even if Tian Yun was the young master of the Stargate, he wouldn't be stupid enough to make a move here. The alchemy test wasn't organized by his family. It was the alchemy school's business. The people of the alchemy school didn't care whether he was the young master of the Stargate or not. Even if they didn't do anything to him, they would still invite him out of Lanshi City. Big brother Muyu, you shouldn't have provoked him. He's a vengeful person. He definitely won't let this go. Tian Ran watched Tian Yun leave worriedly. Muyu spread his hands and said, Then what can I do? Am I supposed to let him tease you? Won't my master break my legs if he finds out? Chapter 143. This is the Tier 4 pill test. The duration of the test is 10 hours. Prepare your own ingredients. The pills must be refined on the spot. Those who cheat will be disqualified from this test. Required pills. Tier 4 Chi Concealing Pill, Tier 4 Explosion Pill, Tier 4 Quick Recovery Pill, Tier 4 Soul Dissolving Pill. These are the pills that a Tier 4 pill master must master. They are also the pills that can best reflect a Tier 4 pill master standard. Selected pills. Tier 4 Color Glass Pill, Tier 4 Recovery Pill, Tier 4 Heart Calming Pill, Tier 4 Ancient Dragon 6 Divine Pill. Choose 2 out of the 4 pills and meet the requirements. Everyone, use your pill refining skills well. During the refining process, we will have people to evaluate everyone's pill refining techniques and herbs. Don't show off your cleverness in front of the examiners. Remember, whether the pills were refined on the spot or not, we will be able to tell. The pill master began to announce the rules and outline of the pill test loudly. At the same time, he emphasized the seriousness of the pill test. In the past, many people would buy the pills for the pill test at a high price and then pretend that they refined the pills themselves in an attempt to pass and obtain the qualifications of a pill master. However, without exception, they were all seen through by the examiners. Everyone was already clear about the rules of the pill test. The pill master only said a few simple words and then waved his hand. Countless yellow papers fell into every small cubicle. This kind of paper was called pill paper. It was specially used for the pill test. On it was the content of the test, the type and quantity of pills to be refined, and the passing standards were written clearly. Some of the alchemists took a look at the contents of the pill paper, and their faces immediately lit up with joy. Obviously, they were well prepared and were confident in refining several kinds of pills. On the other hand, some alchemists furrowed their brows as they noticed some problems. Those who participated in the Tier 4 Pill Master Test were all nascent soul stage cultivators. Thinking about how a nascent soul stage cultivator could summon the wind and rain in the Mayan mountain range, and there were actually no less than 1,000 people here. It really made people sigh with emotion. Perhaps only the pill test could see so many nascent soul stage cultivators gathered together. Kailai was considered an anomaly. He was probably the only one here who participated in the Tier 4 Pill Master Test with the identity of Jindan period. Many people paid attention to him. After all, he was the disciple of the famous old master pharmacist. It was not surprising that he would appear here, and it was admirable. With the cultivation of the Jindan period, this child participated in the Tier 4 Alchemist assessment. His future prospects would definitely not be below that of a Grandmaster Alchemist. Kailai lazily swept a glance over the pill paper, looking listless and dispirited. He slowly took out a purple pill cauldron and placed it on the table. With a wave of his hand, all kinds of herbs appeared on the table. To him, his greatest advantage was that he would never lack the materials to refine pills. After that, a bright flame emerged from the pill cauldron. The material used to create flames was called pill firestone. As long as spiritual energy was injected into the stone, it would produce flames. The intensity of the flame was dependent on the amount of spiritual power. This was because in order to successfully refine a pill, one had to have a good grasp of spiritual power. Once the flame was too big or too small, it would not be able to refine the medicinal properties of the herbs. Different herbs had different requirements for the flame, and this all required the alchemist to control. The connoisseur looked at the door, while the layman joined in on the fun. Muyu did not know how to refine the medicinal properties of the herbs, and how to control the medicinal properties of the herbs in order to maximize the medicinal properties of the herbs. However, he did not like to deal with things related to flames. Therefore, the fact that he was not fated to be an alchemist was already set in stone. Everyone's pill cauldron was different. There were also good and bad pill cauldrons. A good pill cauldron could achieve twice the effect with half the effort. It could maintain the medicinal properties of the herbs and increase the success rate of refining pills. Kailai's purple pill cauldron was definitely not cheap. The pill cauldron used by the disciple of a Grandmaster Alchemist was definitely not ordinary. This pill cauldron also guaranteed the possibility of refining Tier 4 pills with the cultivation of the Jindan period. The alchemists participating in the assessment were all focused on controlling the flame in the pill cauldron. Then, they began to mix the various herbs together. The order and quantity could not be wrong. This was a delicate job and was very strict. Don't be fooled by Senior Brother Kailai's usual laziness. His talent in alchemy is very high. Tian Ran and Muyu both stared at Kailai. At this moment, Kailai was dividing the ingredients. He did not need to use a special blade to divide the herbs. He only needed to put his index and middle fingers together, and a sharp chi blade would form at the tip of his finger. Then, he would be able to remove the excess roots or leaves of the herbs. Kailai used his spiritual power to crush a brown fruit into powder and scattered the powder around. Then he took a plump green stem, broke the skin, and sprinkled the juice on it. During the entire process of refining pills, Kai Lai did not use his hands to touch the herbs. He relied on his spiritual power. To do so, he needed to reach the realm of multitasking. This was a quality that every qualified alchemist must have. The entire alchemy test was carried out in an orderly manner. Every alchemist was there seriously operating the pills in their pill cauldrons. The surrounding people consciously watched quietly, not daring to disturb this kind of alchemy test. Boom! No one expected that a pillar of fire would suddenly soar into the sky. One of the participants seemed to have failed to control his pill flamestone and caused a huge fire. The surrounding participants were also affected. It was reasonable to say that as an alchemist, it was impossible for them to fail to control the fire of their pill flamestone. These 1,000 participants were all rank 3 alchemists and were very familiar with the pill flamestone. What's going on? The examiner quickly walked over to investigate the situation. That participant's face was black, and he was lying on the ground. It was unknown if he was dead or alive. His clothes seemed to have been burned by the flames. Then, the assisting staff ran over to check on the participant's condition with a serious expression. Many other participants were also forced to stop. They did not understand what had happened. Everyone was discussing spiritedly. In previous alchemy tests, it was very rare for someone to be injured by a fire. This was very rare. But suddenly, there were several more explosions. The tables of a few other participants also exploded, and a few more people were covered in blood. Jia, I love playing with fire the most. A figure bathed in flames suddenly flashed out from the huge pillar of fire. Then, several other figures appeared from the flames. Isn't this Hui Yaman? Many people could not even react when they saw Hui Yaman appear. This was because everyone knew that Yaman had been trapped in the Mayun mountain range by the true god 100 years ago. Since then, no traces of Yaman had been seen on the 3 continents. 100 years ago, many cultivators had not yet been born and had never seen what Yaman looked like. So, the sudden appearance of the soaring flames frightened many people. Shwa! In just a breath's time, the alchemy test venue of more than 1,000 people suddenly turned into a sea of fire. Many cultivators did not even have time to react. Everything that could burn around them had been swallowed by the flames. Run! Someone shouted in horror. Then, some people screamed, some people shouted, and some people ran out without saying a word. The scene suddenly became chaotic. Many cultivators fled in disarray in the air. Some were even knocked into the air and fell into the sea of fire. The scorching flames immediately surrounded them. Using our flames to refine pills, you humans are really interesting. The pill cauldrons of many alchemists suddenly exploded. Dozens of Yaman with steaming flames drilled out from the raging flames. They floated in the air and looked at the chaotic scene. Many alchemists' clothes were set on fire by the flames. At this moment, they were trying to extinguish the flames in horror. Yaman? How can there be Yaman in the 3 continents? The medicine master was shocked. He flipped his palm, and a huge palm print smashed towards the Hui Yaman in the air. That Hui Yaman could not dodge in time and was instantly smashed into pieces. However, even more Hui Yaman rushed out from the flames. They laughed arrogantly and rejoiced in the sea of flames. The flames changed into the image of various demonic beasts and spread towards the houses. Many people with weak cultivation were instantly burned into charcoal. Many cultivators and mortals screamed in horror in the fire. In a moment, the entire alchemy test venue was plunged into misery and suffering. No one expected that the Yaman, who had not been seen for 100 years, would actually appear in Lanshi City. The human race in the 3 continents had not been disturbed by Yaman for 100 years. They did not even know that the Yaman had escaped from the Moyun mountain range. They were much less wary of the Yaman, and many people did not even know how to deal with the Yaman. Those below the nascent soul stage retreat. Those above the nascent soul stage, listen to my command. In the name of the 3 palaces, suppress the Hui Yaman together. The medicine master's dignified voice resounded in the air. He waved his hand, and another huge palm print appeared and flipped towards the Huayuman. His face was filled with anger. Even he did not expect that the Huayuman would disturb the alchemy test. Yaman had not appeared in the 3 continents for decades. Everyone in the 3 continents knew that all the Yuman had escaped into the Moyun mountain range and were trapped by the true god's immortal confinement prison. However, why would a Yuman appear here? Furthermore, it was during the alchemy test. A few out-of-body stage people appeared in the air one after another. Without any explanation, they attacked the burning Yuman. They did not hold back at all and used their respective killing weapons right from the start. In a short while, 2 Yuman were completely destroyed, leaving behind only a few sparks that fell to the ground. "Old man, come and kill us!" One of the Hoi Yuman roared and leaped towards the fleeing crowd. Those people were all mortals. Instantly, their clothes caught fire. Screams and cries filled the air. Some people even tried to use water to put out the fire. However, where could they find so much water? Burn! I love the smell of ashes the most. The other Huyaman also understood that they were no match for these out-of-body stage humans. They all rushed into the crowd. These out-of-body stage people would definitely not attack the fleeing crowd. They rushed into the houses beside them. Immediately, the houses on the entire street were set ablaze. Black smoke billowed, and the flames soared into the sky. The Jindan period cultivators all trembled as they escaped on their magic treasures. Those who could not fly screamed miserably in the fire. Many people laid on the ground motionless. Their bodies were already charred black. Some people rolled on the ground, trying to extinguish the flames on their bodies. There were even some who were already suffocating. The Hoi Yuman laughed arrogantly in the fire. To them, flames were their toys, their nutrients. They could disappear in one flame and reappear in another. This was the Hoi Yuman with the most destructive power. Their appearance would bring about a huge disaster to the human settlements. The moment the Hoi Yuman appeared, Mu Yu's heart was filled with joy. This was because this meant that the people of the Sanchong continent already knew that the Yuman had escaped from the immortal confining prison. He no longer needed to prove anything to the people of the Sanchong palace. But when he saw that in just a few breaths of time, the Hoi Yumming demons had turned a rich city into a hell on earth, and countless people had died in the sea of fire, he immediately felt a little angry. This Hoi Yuman actually dared to brazenly slaughter humans. Some of the Jindan period and Foundation establishment stage cultivators were unable to resist the flames and were swallowed by the flames. Not to mention those unarmed mortals. Muyu Gij quickly leave his place. Tian Ran pushed Muyu. "What about you?" Muyu asked. "I'm a nascent soul stage cultivator. Only nascent soul stage cultivators can truly deal with the Yuman. Mr. Yao has already summoned us in the name of the Sanchong Palace. We can't not go." Tian Ran anxiously looked at Muyu. Then she soared into the sky with the other nascent soul stage cultivators. Muyu did not know what he could do. He saw Kai Lai's arm was injured in the explosion during the alchemy test. He quickly flew over, helped Kai Lai up, and ran outside. Crazy, crazy! How could the Hoi Yuman appear here? Kai Lai covered his arm with one hand and left with Mu Yu's help. Chapter 144. Triple Illusionary Formation. Medicine Master looked at the burning Yuman. He hesitated for a moment, then seemed to have made a great decision. He ordered the other Yuanian cultivators. Here, he had become the leader of these people. Triple Illusionary Formation? But there are people in the fire. A middle-aged man thought he had misheard. He turned his head to look at Medicine Master in disbelief. "If we don't do this, we won't be able to control the fire. It will only get bigger and bigger, and the losses will be greater. I will take responsibility for the consequences." That man glanced at the flames that filled the sky and the 4 Yumung devils, who were laughing in the fire, and swallowed the words he wanted to say. Master is going to use the Triple Illusionary Formation. We have to leave quickly. Kai Lai's expression changed. Triple Illusionary Formation. Mu Yu's expression froze. He was in disbelief. Master had told him before that humans had many terrifying methods to fight against the Yuman. The triple illusionary formation was one of them. When Grandmaster Potion said the words triple illusionary array, everyone's expression turned serious. The others looked at each other and saw a trace of determination in each other's eyes. They had no choice. They could only listen to Medicine Master's orders. All the Yuanying and out-of-body stage cultivators immediately spread out and came to the edge of the fire field. 3 of them formed an encirclement surrounding the fire field in the middle. The other 3 stood on top of the encirclement, staggered. Then another 3 flew to the top and stacked on top of each other. The palms of each of the 3 people faced each other from a distance. Between the palms, there was a purple spirit energy that connected them. A total of a few dozen people formed an overlapping triangle. The Medicine Master was at the top of these people. His whole body was emitting a golden light. A ray of light surged out from his body and shot towards the 3 people below him. At the same time, the 3 people shot out a purple light towards the 3 people below them. A majestic pressure surged out from all of them, ready to be unleashed. After Muyu and Kai Lai rescued the 2 mortals, they saw that there were still many mortals rolling around in the fire. Muyu wanted to go back to the fire to save them, but Kai Lai pulled him back forcefully. The triple illusionary array has already been activated. You'll die if you go back, Kai Lai said anxiously. What about those who didn't escape? Muyu saw a 7 or 8-year-old boy sitting on the street and crying. All the cultivators had already fled the scene of the fire, and no one had brought him out. The flames did not spread to him, but it was only a matter of time. Say my child. Say my child. A woman wanted to look for her child. She had been taken out by those people during the Jinan period, but her son was not there. We can't save him, Gleeful said through gritted teeth. Muyu still wanted to say something, but at this moment, a purple triangular light with a destructive aura pressed down from the sky, instantly destroying all the houses and flames within the triangular light. A deafening explosion resounded through the clouds. Then, a dozen more purple lights followed. No! Muyu's eyes widened. He saw with his own eyes that the triangular light bombarded the scene of the fire. That little boy was still crying a moment ago, but the next moment, he had already turned into powder. Pure powder. There was nothing left. He just disappeared in front of his eyes, no longer able to cry. A life was lost just like that. Along with him were the surrounding buildings and the flames that filled the sky, as well as those who did not manage to escape. We'll be back. The great Fire King has already been born. He will avenge us at any time. The dozens of fire Yuman in the fire were not afraid of death at all. Instead, they laughed wantonly before they were destroyed. Their voices echoed in Lanshi City for a long time. Their appearance was more like a Yuman preparing to declare war on the humans, and this was just a prize. Not my child. My child. The woman beside Yu was already in tears. She saw her son die in the sea of fire with her own eyes. She fainted from the immense grief. Muyu's mind was blank. He muttered to himself as he watched everything. The triple illusionary array bombarded down and caused a huge amount of destruction. The sea of fire was completely extinguished, but the buildings were also turned into ashes. The originally bustling street turned into an empty space in the blink of an eye. It was a real empty space. There was nothing there. Even the bluestone paved with stones had turned into powder, filling up the huge pit that was 300 meters deep. Smoke and dust rose in all directions and rippled in everyone's eyes. The power of the triple illusionary array was terrifying. The pharmacist master's face was ashen. When he made the decision to use the triple illusionary array, it meant that a lot of people who did not manage to escape from the fire would be annihilated along with the fire Yuman. He could wait for everyone to escape before making this decision, but it would be too late by then. The sea of fire would spread even bigger, and more people and property would suffer losses. He had no choice but to give this order as soon as possible. He had to do this. The fire Yuman did not survive in the triple illusionary array. Along with it, there were also mortals who could not escape. Tian Ran flew down with a listless face. Kai Lai went to pick her up. When she saw Muyu, she suddenly threw herself into Muyu's arms and started crying. So many innocent people died, just like that. I killed them with my own hands. I didn't expect. I thought. I shouldn't have gone. Tian Ran sobbed. The triple illusionary array was created by the combined power of nascent soul realm cultivators. Tian Ran was one of the nascent soul realm cultivators. You didn't kill them. Those people were killed by the Yumon. Kai Lai comforted her from the side. Tian Ran. Muyu wanted to say something, but he couldn't. This was the first time he had seen such a terrifying array. It was formed by dozens of people, and in an instant, it destroyed a part of the world, turning it into powder and nothing. In order to fight against the Yumon, the cultivators had invented many methods to restrain it. However, some methods had to sacrifice some people's lives for the sake of the big picture. Just like the millions of lives in the Mayan mountain range, the mortals who died in the sea of fire today were only a small part of the immortal confining prison. Muyu knew that the medicine master had no choice but to form the triple illusionary array today. If they did not directly destroy all the fire Yumon, the entire city could be covered in a sea of fire. This was a method that would hurt both the enemy and themselves. He thought of the millions of lives in the immortal confining prison. Were humans really so selfish, hurting the enemy at the cost of 800 of their own lives? This was also the first time Tian Ran knew how terrifying this array was. At that time, she only heard the command of the triple illusionary array. According to the teachings of the elders, once someone gave this command, she had to cooperate. She went, and this was also the first time she saw how terrifying this array was. It could destroy heaven and earth, and it was unstoppable. So many lives that had yet to die were destroyed under her. Where's the city lord? Investigate this matter thoroughly. Why did the city defense array fail? Why did the Yumon enter the city? The medicine master shouted angrily. His voice was like rolling thunder, containing a monstrous anger. Every human city had a city defense array. Once the Yumon invaded, it would definitely block it and sound the alarm. This alarm would alert everyone in the city. The city defense array's alarm had not sounded for nearly 100 years. The people here did not know what the alarm sounded like. Many people in the 3 continents had even forgotten about the existence of the Yumon. The true God sealed the Yumon for them, allowing them to live in peace and contentment for dozens of years. The overly comfortable days caused them to be unable to react quickly when faced with the fire Yumon's invasion. The city lord was an out-of-body stage cultivator, but he did not dare to refute anything in front of the medicine master. He also did not know why the city defense array did not work. How the fire Yumon entered Lanshi City was also a mystery. The city defense array's base is the true God statue. The true God statue has always been guarded day and night. But for some reason, someone just reported that a crack actually appeared on the true God statue. Although the city lord's voice was not loud, many self-cultivators present heard it clearly. In the past, when the true God displayed his invincible might and defeated the 5 Yumon spirit masters, many people were not yet born, but they could imagine that kind of spirit. Everyone had always held reverence for the true God. For dozens of years, they had not been disturbed by the Yumon. Today, a crack appeared on the true God statue, causing the city defense array to lose its function. Why was this? What? Something happened to the true God statue? Let's go and take a look. The medicine master was shocked. Without another word, he had already walked toward the statue at the city gate. Many people followed him. Muyu did not go, and neither did Tian Ran. This statue had nothing to do with Feng Haochen. They had only carved the city defense array's base into the true God statue. For the fire Yumon to be able to find a way to enter the city, it was definitely not a simple matter. Even if they followed him, they were afraid that with their cultivation levels, they would not be able to get too close. It will be better to ask the medicine master directly next time. Muyu and the others returned to their inn. However, the inn wasn't spared from the attack. Half of the inn had disappeared. The shopkeeper sighed with a sad face. He ran fast and escaped, but his business was ruined. He didn't know who to ask for compensation. Muyu and the others returned to their inn, but then wasn't spared from the attack. Everyone's mood was very low. Hoi Yaman's sudden appearance had disrupted the progress of the alchemy trial, and had almost caused the deaths of thousands of humans. Their attack had been too sudden, and there had been no foresight. Because of the alchemy trial, more than 100,000 people had gathered in Mist Breath City. The Fire Yaman had used the alchemist's alchemic firestone to release flames, wreaking havoc wildly, stunning the cultivators. At this moment, Muyu inadvertently turned her head and caught a glimpse of a man at the corner of the street who was wrapped up tightly. He wore a hat on his head and did not expose any part of his body, including his face, which was covered by a veil. That person was sneakily looking at the area destroyed by the triple illusionary array from the corner of the wall, as if he was looking for something. It was reasonable to say that cultivators had all kinds of attire. Just based on what they were wearing, it would not attract Muyu's attention. However, Muyu had a strange feeling about that person. It was a very familiar feeling, as if there was some kind of connection between him and that strange person. Then, he suddenly realized what this feeling was. The aura on that strange person was clearly the aura of a tree. He was very sensitive to trees. That person was just like a tree, standing there and watching the cultivators coming and going. What was even stranger was that that person's eyes were actually faintly flickering with a green light, just like a ball of mist. Muyu's body suddenly froze. This was a wooden Yaman. You guys wait for me here. I'll go out for a while. Muyu said to Kai Lai, and Tian ran before running towards that wooden Yaman. That wooden Yaman had also discovered Muyu. Seeing that he had been discovered by a human, he immediately turned around and left. Chapter 145. Stop right there. Muyu appeared in front of Yaman in a flash. However, as soon as he landed on the ground, countless plants suddenly surged out from the cracks in the ground and bound Muyu. Muyu kicked the plants away. The plants on the ground were firmly controlled by Muyu. However, he didn't dare to reveal his ability to control plants, so he didn't use them to counterattack. Yaman Wood was stunned that its control over the plants had been taken away. However, it quickly reacted and turned around to enter a willow tree and jumped into a courtyard. Muyu wasn't going to let it go. He immediately jumped over the wall and entered the courtyard. However, Yaman Wood had already run across the courtyard and jumped over the wall. Muyu followed closely behind. At this time, many residents had already left their houses and gathered on the streets. They were afraid that their houses would be burned down by the Fire Yaman. As such, Muyu didn't see a single person along the way. When Muyu reached a courtyard, he couldn't see Yaman Wood anymore. Before he could steady his feet, the stones on the ground suddenly surged and smashed towards Muyu one by one. Muyu waved his hand, and sword chi swept out, instantly knocking the stones away. More rocks rushed over. The soil on the ground even curled up into sharp earth spikes, trying to pierce Muyu. Earth Yaman! Muyu's heart trembled. He couldn't see where the Yaman Wood was at this moment. However, only the Earth Yaman could control the rocks. At this moment, a few more flames spewed out. It seemed like there were more Fire Yaman here. Muyu found it difficult to deal with these Yaman Wood alone. What made him even more helpless was that he couldn't see where these Yaman Wood were located. A sharp rock smashed onto Muyu's sword. A huge force came through and caused Muyu's sword to deviate by a few inches. At this moment, Yaman Wood appeared out of nowhere and used its body to bind Muyu tightly. Human, you aren't human. Yaman Wood whispered in Muyu's ear, causing Muyu to feel a chill down his spine. A rock slashed across Muyu's arm. Blood splattered out and stained the Yaman Wood that was binding his body. At this moment, Muyu's mind stirred, and an inexplicable feeling appeared in his mind. Every aspect of Mu Yuming's body, which was wrapped around him, appeared in his perception. He realized that he could actually control the body of Yaman Wood. Yaman Wood was stunned. It didn't know why it was being controlled by this human in front of it. When it realized that its movements were being obstructed by Muyu, it felt an inexplicable palpitation in its heart. It also sensed an aura from this human that caused its soul to tremble. The hierarchy of the Yu Meng Devil clan was extremely strict. The nobler one's bloodline was the greater one's strength would be. The supreme spirit Lord Yu Meng could control his own clansmen as he wished. The instant Mu Yu's blood touched the Yu Meng devil clan, the majesty that came from her bloodline made the Yu Meng devil clan unable to resist at all. Who was this human? Why did he have the aura of the great spirit, Lord Yu Meng, on his body? For a moment, Mu Yumping thought that spirit Lord Yu Meng was controlling him. However, he was clearly looking at a living human. What exactly was going on? Mu Yu also couldn't explain this situation. However, he realized that he could actually control the Yaman wood. At this moment, even more rocks were whistling towards him. With a thought, the Yaman wood on his body suddenly grew branches that swept away all the rocks. Mu Yu didn't expect this to happen. The last time he fought the Yaman wood, his ability to control wood was inferior to the Yaman wood. However, this time, he was able to control the Yaman wood. It was really surprising. He didn't realize how noble the blood in his body was. Ding! A beautiful zither sound suddenly rang out. A few sharp sonic booms suddenly sounded in the air. Instantly, the surrounding rocks and soil were reduced to dust. At the same time, a purple signal suddenly appeared in the air, flashing for a long time. You're courting death. The Fire Yaman's voice rang out. Mu Yu finally saw the Fire Yaman. He quickly flew into the air. Mu Yu looked up and saw a very beautiful woman. She held a guzheng in her hand and played it with her slender fingers. From time to time, there would be blue sound blades slashing towards the Hoi Yumeng devil. Blue light flashed, and at the same time, her figure flew up and interweaved with the Hoi Yumeng devil. Mu Yu recognized this woman. She was from a Jade Gate. Her name was Roanna. Earlier, the Star Gate's Tianyin had harassed her, but she seemed to have kicked him away. He didn't understand why she would appear here. Run! The humans are coming. A Earth Yaman poked his head out of the room. He had already seen more and more humans coming over. The Fire Yaman no longer entangled with Roanna. The monstrous flames swept towards Roanna. Roanna floated away, and the Fire Yaman had already rushed into the Earth Yaman's room. As for the Wood Yaman, it was still captured by Mu Yu. Let me go, the Wood Yaman shouted in a low voice. What are you doing here? Mu Yu asked. Of course it's to tell you that the war has begun again. The Wood Yaman said angrily. Is this also the meaning of the Old Tree Chief? The Old Tree Chief said that he doesn't like war. Mu Yu frowned. You know the Old Tree Chief? We, the Wood Yaman, are also Yaman. There are some things that we can't stay out of. The Wood Yaman sneered. The 3 continents have been occupied by humans for so long. It's our turn to Yaman. What's going on? The medicine master and the city lord had already rushed over when they saw the purple signal. Their expressions were solemn, as they attached great importance to the fact that the Yaman was still in the city. Seeing that Mu Yu was being held back by a Wood Yaman, the medicine master had already made his move, heading towards the Wood Yaman. Don't! Mu Yu wanted to stop him, but the medicine master had already grabbed the Yaman. Mu Yu could only withdraw and leave the Wood Yaman. The medicine master's majestic spiritual energy swept out, and before the Wood Yaman could react, it was already shattered into pieces. They entered that room. Roanna rushed towards the room. At this moment, a ray of light flashed in the room, and a huge wave of spiritual energy swept over, instantly sending Roanna flying. She just happened to be retreating towards Mu Yu. Mu Yu subconsciously reached out and hugged Roanna. The other party's cultivation was also in the Jindan period, similar to Mu Yu. However, when Mu Yu caught her, he still used a little bit of strength. Let go of me, Roanna said angrily. Why are you so fierce? Mu Yu lowered his head, only to realize that his hand seemed to be hugging something that shouldn't be hugged. It was soft and bulging like 2 small mountain peaks. He blinked his eyes, feeling a little embarrassed, and quickly let go of his hand. Roanna glared at Mu Yu with a face full of anger. The way she looked at Mu Yu was actually burning with anger. She was the noble fairy sister of the Yao sect, and she was actually attacked by a bastard who came out of nowhere. However, the medicine master and the city lord had already entered the room, and Mu Yu pretended not to see Roanna's expression and followed in a flash. The room was very bright, and it was enveloped by a rotating light, making it hard for people to open their eyes. After the light slowly dissipated, the scene in front of them made everyone widen their eyes. Muyu was the most shocked person. 10,000-year green wood, black sea chun bing, ancient spirit fire, meteoric iron, frozen rock. These 5 things formed a small teleportation array, and it was currently flashing in the middle of the room. The ground was engraved with mysterious array patterns, and it was very complicated, causing Mu Yu's heart to tremble. This was the Yumon array that sent him and Tian Ran to the 3 continents. Although it was much smaller than the 5 elements array he saw in the Moyen Mountain Range. How did this array appear here? What is this? The city lord had never seen this teleportation array before. He looked at the array in surprise, wanting to see something from it. Unfortunately, even someone as knowledgeable as him couldn't see anything. He had never seen anything like this before. After a long time, Muyu said, "I'm afraid this is the way the Yumming devils used to enter the city." Everyone's expression changed drastically. They had never seen this teleportation array before. The medicine master said seriously, "Muyu, how do you know?" "Because we just saw 2 Yumon enter this room and disappear," Anna said. How did Yumon destroy the city defense array? And how did he set up a teleportation array here? As the city lord, you don't know about this? The medicine master scolded. The city lord's face was red. Yumon hadn't appeared for decades. How could he have known that the first time Yumon appeared in decades, his city would become Yumon's primary target? The 2 of you should leave quickly. Don't you know that it's very dangerous for cultivators during the Jindan period to deal with Yumon? The medicine master glanced at Muyu and didn't blame him. He only waved his hand to get them to leave quickly. Muyu left the place without saying a word, and Anna followed. Just as they turned a street, Anna took a few steps in front of Muyu. Then, the guzheng appeared in her hand. She gritted her teeth and said, "You molested me just now. I'm going to chop off your hand." What? Muyu was still thinking about the Yumming demon clan's teleportation array. When she heard Anna's words, she was stunned. She thought to herself, "Why is this person so unromantic? I only caught her. At least I did it to help her. It was not intentional. Why is she so petty?" Muyu couldn't be bothered with her. He wanted to soar into the sky, but Anna's sound blade had already slashed at Muyu. Chapter 146. Muyu blocked Anna's sound blade and retreated a few feet. Following the excellent style of a good man who did not fight with a woman, he did not fight back and only dodged. Xiao Shuai could not watch any longer and came out from Muyu's embrace and said, "Aya, didn't I just touch her chest? I touched Sister Tian Ran every day and she did not say anything. Why are you so petty? You almost squashed me into a meat patty. Muyu, why don't you let her touch you too?" "I have no objections." Muyu lowered his head and dodged another sound blade. Shameless. Anna rushed over in a flustered and exasperated manner. The sound blades that filled the sky swept over from all directions and wrapped around Muyu. Muyu's shadow swords turned into 4 and circled around his body, blocking all the sound blades. Anna was indeed good-looking. She was a disciple of the Jade sect and was quite beautiful. Normally, she would even dare to kick the young master of the Heavenly Star sect outside. She had always kept herself clean. Who would have thought that today, just because she was attracted by the Yumming demon clan, her chest would be attacked by a young man? If she could endure it, then she would not be the Jade sect's Anna. "I really don't want to fight." Muyu turned around and appeared beside Anna in a flash. He snatched the zither from her hands and jumped away. "Get it back to me." Anna was about to go crazy. She, a disciple of the Jade sect, was actually not a match for a youth who came out of nowhere. This was a huge blow to her self-esteem. At this moment, a gust of wind suddenly blew on the street. Following that, a rain of flowers fell from the sky and danced in the wind. The petals formed a tornado in the wind. A blue-clothed man stood at the top of the tornado. The blue-clothed man was around 20 years old. His long black hair was casually combed into a bun. It was soft and shiny, causing many girls to be envious. His handsome face caused many girls to fall head over heels for him. His slightly raised mouth revealed a trace of unrestrained unruliness. F***, you came out and scattered flowers. Do you have any shame? Muyu looked at this guy who came out of nowhere with disdain. Fellow Taoist, you're wrong. I'm just trying to set the mood. The blue-clothed man did not feel ashamed at all. He landed lightly on the ground and bowed to Ro Anna. Miss Ro, I see you again. Look, I told you we were fated. Who are you? Muyu knew that this person did not come with good intentions. The other party's strength was at the nascent soul stage. From the looks of it, he seemed to be Ro Anna's pursuer. This time, he was in an even more disadvantageous situation. Shimenwuji, you came at the right time. Kill him for me, and I won't pursue the past. She didn't show any joy at the blue-clothed man's appearance. On the contrary, she was a little annoyed. However, she couldn't beat Muyu. In a moment of desperation, she wanted to use the blue-clothed man to deal with Muyu. Family misfortune? How did you come up with such a name? Muyu laughed out loud. Fellow Taoist, my name is Shimen Shueishue. Everyone calls me Shimen Hao Shuai. You can call me Shimen Shuai. The blue-clothed man said seriously. Shuai is my special name. You're not allowed to use it. Little Shuai said while wagging his big tail. Why do you call your family misfortune? Muyu was very curious. It's Shimenwuji, but my name is Shimen Shueishue. Everyone calls me Shimen Hao Shuai. You can call me Shimen Shuai. The blue-clothed man corrected again. Then why did she call your family misfortune? The blue-clothed man decided to ignore this question this time. He coughed and said seriously, Fellow Taoist, Miss Ro wants me to take your life, so I don't plan on letting you live. However, when I kill people, I have to let them die, clearly. The old man said that this way, they won't pester you as ghosts after they die. If you have any last words, hurry up and say them. I'll wait for you to finish. This guy was really weird. He even paid attention to killing people. However, Muyu was not afraid. He continued to ask, Why do you call your family misfortune? Is this your last question? The blue-clothed man rolled his eyes. Yes, otherwise I won't be able to die in peace. Muyu seriously nodded his head. Shimenwuji helplessly sighed. He used his hand to comb his hair and faintly said, This is a very long story. It starts from when Pan Gu created the world. Speaking of which, at that time, the world was still in chaos. Shimenwuji, why are you talking so much nonsense when I'm asking you to kill someone? Rowan's complexion was very ugly. Shimenwuji blinked his eyes. Then I'll make a long story short. When I was 4 years old, my grandmother drowned. When I was 5 years old, my grandfather suddenly died. When I was 6 years old, my father was killed for revenge. When I was 7 years old, my mother committed suicide. When I was 8 years old, I was sold to a brothel because I was too good-looking. That lecherous old man took a fancy to me. Only after he took off my pants did he realize that I was a man. Afterwards, because of my innate talent and intelligence, which was unprecedented in history, he decided to take me as his disciple. When that unlucky old man heard about my experience, he gave me the name Shimenwuji. However, when I come out to mingle, I call myself Shimen Shueishue. You can call me Shimen Handsome. After Shimenwuji finished speaking, he scattered a handful of flowers. Then, he took out a flute and played a sorrowful tune. Muyu was also infected by this atmosphere. He didn't expect that this man's life was actually so miserable. He must have done something wrong in his previous life. That's why his family was so unfortunate in this life. The sound of Shimenwuji's flute was long and mournful, and Muyu involuntarily immersed himself in this melody. His heartbeat was beating along with this melody. Then the melody of the flute became slow, and Muyu's heartbeat also began to slow down. Muyu, don't fall into the melody of the flute. Happy and the others also saw the signal and ran over together with Tianran. He just happened to see Shimenwuji playing the flute. He immediately understood that this guy was going to cause trouble again. He covered his ears and walked behind Muyu. Raising his leg, he directly kicked Muyu. Muyu woke up with a start. Shimenwuji wasn't playing the flute. He was using the melody to kill. Aya, I say, young Master Happy, I am killing someone. Why are you joining in the fun? Shimanwuji was somewhat vexed as he put away his flute. One of his killing moves was this death-demanding flute. Many people who weren't on guard died under this move of his. His face was thick, and he could talk nonsense. The easiest way was to tell others about his life experience, making others let down their guard. Even if Muyu didn't ask, he would find another excuse to tell others about his unfortunate life experience. I almost fell into his trap. Muyu felt a bit of lingering fear. This Shimanwuji was actually so strange. Exactly what was his background? Big brother Muyu, are you all right? Tianran also ran over. She and Happy also came over after seeing the signal, but they didn't dare to approach. They only wandered in the vicinity. Then they met Muyu. A fair and graceful lady is a good match for a gentleman. When Shimanwuji saw Tianran, he was immediately dumbfounded. It was fine if he was handsome, but he was also lecherous. And with his appearance, many young girls who lost their footing were tragically in his hands. Miss Tianran, nice to meet you. How have you been recently? Shimanwuji flung his hair and gracefully bowed. His movement was refined and courteous. According to the plot, ordinary girls would blush and shyly nod their head. Just now, did you want to kill Big Brother Muyu? Tianran put her hands on her waist and angrily asked. The plot doesn't develop like this. Shimanwuji inwardly muttered, but very quickly he revealed a smile and adjusted the kind attitude of young master. Miss Tianran, you misunderstood. Just now, I was comparing notes with your big brother Muyu. You see, isn't he fine? F***K, you are truly shameless. Muyu loudly cursed. Shimanwuji didn't feel that he was shameless. His skin was not thick for 1 or 2 days. Miss is truly the most beautiful woman I have ever seen. I truly regret that I didn't meet your big brother Muyu earlier. Brother Muyu's musical attainment is beyond my reach. Just now, Brother Muyu had already promised to exchange music with me at Luing Garden. At that time, if Miss can do me the honor of attending, then that would be a very rare thing. Muyu was completely convinced by the shamelessness of Shimanwuji. Just now, he was still hiding a dagger in his smile and wanted to kill him. But after seeing Tianran, his attitude changed greatly. He sincerely wanted to worm his way into being friends with Tianran. Is that so? Tianran was too naive. She didn't know what kind of medicine Shimanwuji was selling, so she took this matter seriously. Shimanwuji, are you going to help me kill him or not? Anna angrily gnashed her teeth. Miss Ro, we are both cultured people. Fighting and killing will hurt feelings. You see, last time you and I also didn't do it on purpose, right? Shimanwuji pretended to be a cultured person again. You two just wait. Anna stamped her foot and soared into the sky. Then she left without looking back. Hey, you're gouging. Muyu threw the gouging towards Anna. Anna angrily caught it and then disappeared. Miss Ro, don't be in such a hurry to leave. How about you leave your contact? I also welcome you to come to Luing Garden. Shimanwuji shouted from behind, but Anna had already flown far away. Shimanwuji slightly shook his head. Miss Ro's mind is rather small. Last time, didn't I accidentally touch her fragrant butt? Even now, she is still holding a grudge. F***K, you touched her butt, I touched her chest. Why did she fight me to the death, but let you go? Muyu was stunned. It turned out that this fellow had also done something similar. Muyu simply had the urge to slap this guy to death. They were all in the same boat, yet he still had the nerve to kill someone for her. Ah, big brother Muyu, you are also a pervert. Tianran subconsciously covered her chest and shouted in dissatisfaction. Muyu blinked his eyes, indicating that he was very innocent. He hurriedly explained. At that time, the situation was so urgent, so how could he care so much? He carefully thought about it. That kind of feeling was not bad. Nowadays, 16-year-old girls develop so quickly. Tianran is also not small. Tianran is my junior sister. How can I have that kind of thought? Muyu somewhat despised himself. Muyu, you even dare to eat this Anna's tofu? Don't you know who she is? Although Kai Lai said this, the smile on his face betrayed him. You know that the women of the Jade sect and Red Dust sect are very pure. They don't allow men to touch their bodies. How many ambitious young men would be proud to marry a woman from the Jade sect? You, on the other hand, directly touched her. No wonder her expression was so ugly. Be careful. The women of the Jade sect are not to be trifled with. Muyu and I both touched Big Sister Tian Ran's body. Xiao Shui raised his paw and said, "Don't talk." Muyu pressed Xiao Shui into his embrace. Tian Ran pouted and looked at Muyu with dissatisfaction. I already said it wasn't on purpose. Since the women of the Jade sect are so pure, they should be more careful when they come out alone. Besides, why would she come to this place for no reason? Muyu gestured with his hand. I say, Big Sister Mortal is also quite pitiful. First Shimin Wuji touched her, but then Muyu touched her chest. Didn't they say that ordinary cultivators can't touch Big Sister Immortal? How come Miss Ro is so easy to touch? If I had known earlier, I would have also tried my luck. I want to pinch her cheeks. Kai Lai muttered in annoyance. Shimin Wuji heard Kai Lai's words and immediately laughed. He patted Muyu's shoulder. Brother, you also had the same experience as me. If you had told me earlier, we wouldn't have misunderstood, right? All right, that place of hers feels pretty good, but I think the place you touched might feel even better. Hurry up and tell me what it feels like. I've seen countless women, but the people of the Jade sect have never touched that place. It's pretty good. You could go and try. In any case, she can't beat you. Muyu felt that at least compared to Tian Yun, although both of them were shameless, Shimin Wuji was more magnanimous. I wanted to try, but Jade Sect's Fairy Meng Xian was also here. I just couldn't bring myself to touch her. Shimin Wuji helplessly shook his head. If you even touch Fairy Meng Xian, then the Jade Sect will definitely fight you to the death. Kai Lai seriously said. Who is Fairy Meng Xian? Muyu curiously asked. Meng Xian, that's the woman that many men yearn for. Kai Lai dumbfoundedly said. Muyu remembered the ugly graffiti girl he had drawn in his textbook. Could it be that Meng Xian? Tian Ran listened to the discussion of these three men. The more she listened, the more she felt something was wrong. Without any explanation, she pulled Kai Lai and Muyu away. If they continued to stay here, then perhaps Muyu would be led astray by Kai Lai and Shimin Wuji. Chapter 147. Where did this Shimin Wuji come from? It's fine if he's shameless, but why is he so narcissistic? Muyu asked in confusion. This Shimin Wuji isn't a good person. He's from the evil sect. Muyu, you have to be careful of the people from the evil sect. The people from the evil sect do things according to their own preferences. Killing people is also something they do casually. They worship to do as they please. This is originally good, but once they are truly indulged, they will do many outrageous things and not follow the rules. In the cultivation world, they are an existence that is spurned, but they are also unreasonably powerful. The people from the evil sect are very unruly. They don't like to be bound by rules and regulations. They do many things according to their own preferences, offending many people. It seems like the people from the evil sect aren't good people. Why didn't the various sects unite to eliminate them? Since ancient times, good has suppressed evil. The people from the evil sect are unscrupulous in killing people. Could it be that no one wants to eliminate them completely? Muyu frowned. Although the people from the evil sect are abominable, their strength cannot be underestimated. They are almost on par with the 8 sects. It's impossible to eliminate them, especially their spiritual leader, Siebulo. This person's cultivation is the most terrifying. The people from the evil sect have their own effective methods to deal with Yaman. They are cruel and will use unexpected methods to eliminate Yaman. When dealing with Yaman, the people from the evil sect didn't just stand by and watch. Instead, they were a major force in defeating Yaman. Compared to the evil sect and Yaman, we are more inclined towards the evil sect. After all, they're also humans. Kai Lai explained. Muyu nodded. He found that Tian Ran was still very depressed about what happened today, so he comforted her. Now that the inn was destroyed, they could only find a new one to stay in. At night, Xiao Shui stuck to Tian Ran in her room. Muyu laid on his bed, unable to fall asleep for a long time. Now that Yumon had appeared in Mist Breath City, the cultivation world already knew that Yumon had escaped from the Moyun mountain range. In that case, how would the Sanchong Palace view this matter? Muyu originally thought that after Yumon left the Moyun mountain range, the threefold palace would be able to help his master get rid of the immortal confining prison. But now that he thought about it, the Yumon had caused so much damage to the daily lives of humans. With the Sanchong's character, they would definitely try to drive the Yumon back to the Moyun mountain range. This meant that the Sanchong would not be able to help his master remove the heaven and earth formation. 50 Li Garden in the south? Why is it so far from here? Luo Shang, why are you running so far away? Muyu muttered. He thought of his second senior brother Luo Shang, the guy who brought everyone away from the Moyun mountain range not long after he returned. He asked Muyu to go to the 50-mile garden in the south to find him. However, Tian Ran told him a few days ago that the 50-mile garden in the south was too far from here. The Sanchong continent was so big that it would take Muyu at least a month to get to the 50-mile garden in the south from here without stopping. How am I going to find that bastard by myself? The medicine master had clearly told Muyu that Tian Ran had to return to the Danding sect with Kai Lai and the others. Then, the medicine master would send Tian Ran to the Red Dust sect. It was impossible for Tian Ran to bring Muyu to the 50-mile garden in the south. However, Muyu was not familiar with the Sanchong continent at all. It would be a problem for him to find a person in the huge Sanchong continent. You don't know, but I do. Just as Muyu was worrying alone, he suddenly heard a familiar voice. Muyu turned his head and looked. What he saw scared him so much that he immediately rolled off the bed. Damn it! Family misfortune! What are you doing here? Shimin Wuji supported his head with one hand and fanned himself with the other. He unknowingly laid down beside Muyu and looked at him with ridicule. Of course I'm here to find you, Shimin Wuji leisurely said. Also, it's Shimin Wuji, not family misfortune. You can call me Shimin Chue Shui, or Shimin Handsome for short. Are you crazy? If there's something, then there's something. Don't you know how to knock? You're a big man. Are you trying to be gay by coming to my bed? Muyu was really shocked. He didn't know how this guy came in, and where did he come from to get on his bed. I'm not gay. I'm a straight man. Shimin Wuji blinked his eyes. You're a retard. Get out. Muyu cursed. How could a normal person sneak into a man's bed and pose in such a flirtatious position? Don't be so angry. I saw you have something on your mind, so I wanted to make a joke with you. But you don't seem to like this joke. Shimin Wuji said with slight regret. Muyu saw the window beside him was open. Shimin Wuji definitely came in from the window. After all, he was a Yuanying realm cultivator. His speed was so fast that he didn't even notice it. Only a ghost would like this joke. Get out. Muyu gnashed his teeth in anger. It was said that the people of evil sects were unrestrained, willful, and frank. In their eyes, running into a man's bed in the middle of the night was the most interesting thing. Only the people of evil sects would do this kind of unconventional thing. How can a normal cultivator do this kind of thing? I just want to ask, I always feel that you're not simple, brother. Jade Sect's fairy Ro-Anna's chest was attacked by you. But how come even Red Dust Sect's little holy maiden Tian Ran is so good to you? I've never touched Saintess Tranquil before. How did you manage to get her? Why doesn't she dislike you? Shimin Wuji sat up and asked seriously. F***K. You climbed into my bed to ask me about girls? Muyu had a stomach full of anger. Why don't you ask her yourself? Shimin Wuji waved his hand. That old medicine man is over there. I don't want to touch his bad luck. After thinking about it, I can only find you. Get out. Muyu emphasized every word to get out. Receiving another man in his bed in the middle of the night, no matter how he thought about it, this scene was very awkward. In any case, I can easily take you down. Can't you respect my identity as an expert? Shimin Wuji didn't have the slightest intention to leave. Experts won't be this abnormal. Get out. Muyu pointed at the window to send him off. Just now I heard you were looking for a person called Luo Shang, right? Shimin Wuji faintly smiled. I also know a person called Luo Shang. What do you want to say? Muyu's heart jumped. Shimin Wuji knew Luo Shang? You tell me Tian Ran's horoscope and hobbies, then I will tell you how to find Luo Shang. Shimin Wuji took out a comb from God knows where and began to comb his hair. This guy was truly crazy. Even if he wasn't crazy, he was extremely careless. Get out. Also, what the hell is horoscope? Muyu sat on the chair and glared at Shimin Wuji. Horoscope, that is a treasure book of love that I summarized after wandering among flowers. I categorize girls according to their different character. For example, those who like cleanliness and have misophobia, I categorize them as Virgo. Jade Sex Fairy Ro Anna is Virgo. If any man dares to touch her, she will not rest until he dies. Jade Sex Fairy Meng Xin is Libra. She is beautiful and kind-hearted. She is very fair in handling matters. She won't reject me or accept me. Million-dollar company's Miss Bay, is Sagittarius. She is lively and warm-hearted. I also like her very much. Tian Ran's little saintess, I don't understand her situation, so I can't categorize her. Shimin Wuji took out a pink booklet, as if he was very familiar with it. He kept flipping through it. Inside the booklet was a record of every girl that he liked. At the same time, he also kept nodding his head. I am warning you, Tian Ran is my younger sister. Don't have any ideas about her. Muyu didn't want Tian Ran to be harassed by this strange guy. Tian Ran was such a pure girl. How could this guy tame her? Tian Ran is your younger sister. Then it's easy to handle. Shimin Wuji closed his eyes and immersed himself in his own fantasy. He was very satisfied with this answer. It's easy to talk about brother and sister. I see that brother Muyu is also not easy to deal with. Otherwise, he wouldn't have done such a vulgar thing like secretly touching a girl like me. This means that we are fated to be together. Shouldn't fated people become in-laws? Isn't that right? Future brother-in-law? Brother-in-law, your sister. Muyu's face was filled with black lines. I won't be as vulgar as you. Do you have this kind of thought every time you see a beauty? Becoming in-laws, how many in-laws do you have? This guy had both appearance and strength, so he must have harmed a lot of girls. Shimin Wuji shook his head. Brother-in-law, you don't know, although I'm a bit dissolute, but I only have intimate friends with many girls. There isn't a real girl that can move my heart. For someone like me, who has been through thousands of flowers and never been touched by a single leaf, I actually have my own standards for choosing a partner. I have dreamt more than once that a girl wearing a green muslin appeared in my line of sight. She was so pure, and her eyes were so clear. Then Tian Ran appeared today. After she left, I couldn't help but think about her, and couldn't help but follow her. Tian Ran also has a time when she wears blue clothes. In my dream, I also dreamed of a pure girl wearing blue clothes. I remember that she also wore white clothes. In my dream, she would occasionally wear a white muslin and leisurely walk towards me. F***K. You are shameless. Is the girl in your dream multicolored? Muyu felt that this kind of thick-skinned person should be hung up and beaten. In any case, he wouldn't feel any pain. The important point is not what she wears, but her temperament. Understand? Shimin Wuji patiently said. Muyu already had nothing to say. This guy always had his own excuses. So he returned to the main topic. Tell me about the Luo Shang you know, and see if it is the Luo Shang I am looking for. Shimin Wuji didn't answer Muyu's question. Instead, continued to ask, can you give me your sister's contact information? Let my messenger bird know where to find her. Tell me about Luo Shang. What is Tian Ran usually like? Is she very kind-hearted? Tell me about Luo Shang. Is there anyone chasing Tian Ran? I have to clean up a few love rivals. Tell me about Luo Shang. Muyu frowned. Shimin Wuji seemed to be deliberately avoiding the topic of Luo Shang. Who exactly was Luo Shang that even Shimin Wuji didn't want to talk about him? Shimin Wuji pondered for a while, then asked, you really don't know who is Luo Shang? If you don't know Luo Shang, why are you looking for him? Of course I know Luo Shang, his identity. Muyu couldn't continue speaking. What was the identity of Luo Shang? Second senior brother of Luo Qin Mountain? who in third layer continent knew about Luo Chin sect. But Luo Shang had wandered in third layer continent for so many years, so whether he had made any name for himself or not, Muyu really didn't know. Luo Shang is not an ordinary person. His identity is not ordinary. Shimin Wuji said with a smile. Luo Shang's identity is not ordinary? Muyu frowned. Whether it was him or Luo Shang, their identity was not ordinary because their master was a true god of third layer continent. Muyu knew that Luo Shang would definitely not speak about this matter, and with the respect Luo Shang had for his master, it was impossible for him to speak about this matter to anyone. Chapter 148. What's so special about him? Muyu looked at Shimin Wuji, who was pretending to be mysterious, and felt that this fellow's words were not reliable. It's better if you don't know about this. That fellow has always been very low-key, but I can tell you where to find him. On the 8th of August, he was invited to the floating immortal island like me. If you're lucky, you might be able to find him there. Shimin Wuji put away the pink booklet and floated over to the chair opposite Muyu. Floating immortal island? Muyu felt more and more ignorant. From the way Shimin Wuji talked about the floating immortal island, it seemed that it was a place that everyone knew about. Only Muyu didn't know anything about it. You should know about that place, right? In any case, as my future brother-in-law, I'll tell you this. In the future, you have to put in a good word for me in front of Tian Ran. Shimin Wuji drank a cup of wine and smiled at Muyu. Then, he disappeared outside the window. In the future, I'll definitely close the window when I sleep. Otherwise, any random person will come in. Muyu walked to the window and closed it. He was going to ask Kai Lai about the floating immortal island tomorrow morning. The next day, just as the sun was about to rise, Muyu had already rushed into Kai Lai's room. Kai Lai was snoring on the bed, and he was woken up by Muyu. You don't know about the floating immortal island? Kai Lai shook his head and asked with sleepy eyes. What is that place? Muyu thought back to the first time he met Tian Ran. He had laughed at Tian Ran for not even knowing about the school. Now, he finally understood how Tian Ran felt when she went to the Mayan mountain range by herself. The floating immortal island is not a place that anyone can go. Those who can go, they're all famous young talents. The cultivation of those who can go there is at least at the nascent soul stage. During the Jindan period, those who go, there are only servants who serve tea and water. It should be noted that most of the young talents of the sects and clans on the 3 continents were very proud and aloof. Only Huai Mian could invite all of them. Huai Baiwan is a businessman who specializes in doing business for cultivators. He is extremely rich and powerful. There's a saying in the world of cultivators, any treasure you want to buy is in Huai Baiwan's hands. When Kai Lai thought of Huai Baiwan, his face was also full of admiration. Huai Baiwan is an amazing person. Every place in the cultivation realm has a trading company called Baiwan Trading Company. If you want to buy something, you just have to go to Baiwan Trading Company. If the item was too precious and they didn't have in stock, they would give a deadline and they would be able to get it within a certain period of time. However, the more precious the item was, the more spirit stones it would consume. Sometimes when our pill cauldron sect wants to refine a certain kind of pill, if we don't have enough materials, we will buy them from trading company with 1,000,000 yuan. Basically, it's fine. Is it that powerful to have 1,000,000 yuan? If someone wanted to buy a true god's heaven sword, would he be able to get it too? Muyu curled his lips. He himself had a true god shadow sword. The true god's 9 heaven swords could be combined into one. Therefore, all the true god statues on the 3 continents only had 1 heaven sword. Master only gave his heaven sword to people he thought were worthy. Muyu didn't believe that Huai Baiwan would be able to find the whereabouts of the heaven sword. It's not impossible, as long as you can afford it. Every year, the owner of the floating immortal island would send an invitation to famous young people in the cultivation realm. Without an invitation, you can't enter. There will be a grand auction there, and the items being auctioned are all extremely precious. Even senior martial brother Xiao Hua received an invitation from the floating immortal island. I'm thinking that when I reach the nascent soul stage, I should be able to receive an invitation too. Kailai's face was full of fantasy. He was actually considered a genius, but his cultivation had not reached the nascent soul stage yet. Therefore, he didn't receive an invitation from the floating immortal island. He was the disciple of a great medicine master and also an alchemist. With his identity as an alchemist, he would naturally receive preferential treatment. Even Little Blossom received an invitation. Muyu curled his lips in disdain. Little Blossom had always disliked Muyu. He didn't expect Little Blossom to be one of the young talents. Kailai laughed and said, "Don't underestimate my senior brother. He is really powerful. However, many people from a Danding sect have received an invitation from a floating immortal island. After all, he is an alchemist. You know what I mean? Who are the young talents that usually go there?" Muyu want to know more about the young talents of the other sects on the 3 continents. This way, he wouldn't appear too ignorant when he went out in the future. Kailai tilted his head and said, "Let me think." Tan Rue, who was at the 3rd firmament of the nascent soul stage, fought against 10 5th firmament nascent soul stage cultivators without losing. That 19-year-old monster is from the Gate of Hell. Sure Rang from the Earthly Imperial sect is said to have subdued a 9th firmament nascent soul stage earthbear during the Jindan period. The Earthly Imperial sect has always dealt with spirit beasts. They have their own unique methods. However, subduing a nascent soul stage spirit beast during the Jindan period is something that has never been heard of. The Earthly Imperial sect is grooming him as their future sect leader. Meng Xian from the Jade sect is the goddess who killed 5 notorious 7th firmament nascent soul stage bandits with a song called Drunken Dream. Those 5 bandits call themselves battle wolves. They commit all kinds of crimes, and many nascent soul stage cultivators have died tragically in their hands. But in the end, they were killed by a little girl. I think they must have died with their eyes wide open. Muyu quietly listened to Lui Lai's eloquent speech, talking about the most qualified young talents of the 3 continents to be invited. He realized that the lowest cultivation level of these people was at the nascent soul stage. Most of them were not older than 20 years old. However, most of them had done something that shook the cultivation world. For example, Tian Ran, who reached the nascent soul stage at the age of 15, was not invited. Tian Ran did not do anything that was known by everyone. However, if the people of the 3 continents knew that Tian Ran was the illegitimate daughter of a true god, Tian Ran would definitely become the center of attention. Every year, 99 people are invited. These 99 people represent the most outstanding youths of the 3 continents. Being able to receive an invitation is a symbol of status. It means that in Huai Baiwan's eyes, you're the 99 most outstanding youths of the younger generation. Many people who are not on the list are not convinced by this ranking. However, Fuxian Island is Huai Baiwan's territory. Therefore, he can invite whoever he wants. Even if you don't agree, you can't do anything about it. Who told you to not be qualified? Kailai said. Huai Baiwan had created the Young Talents ranking of the 3 continents. Some of the geniuses who were not on the list were naturally dissatisfied. Huai Baiwan was a businessman. He was very good at judging people. Many people in the cultivation world agreed with his ranking. Alright, there's also that Shimin Wu Hao we met yesterday. Although this guy is crazy, he is indeed very powerful. He is said to be invincible in the nascent soul stage. He doesn't just know how to play the flute. His real strength is the evil nether fan in his hand. It is very strange. I remember when he first became famous, many people from the righteous sects could not stand the way the evil sects did things. They were also not convinced that someone from the evil sects could be invited to Fuxian Island. Therefore, countless youths tried to find trouble with him. In the end, they were all taught a lesson by Shimin Wu Hao. Since then, no one dared to look down on him, Kailai said. Muyu did not have any doubts about Shimin Wu Hao's strength. This guy did things so casually. In the middle of the night, he even went to a man's bed to ask about a girl. This kind of person who did things according to his whims would naturally offend many people. The fact that he was still alive and kicking and had not been beaten to death was very clear. This guy looked quite dignified. He could be considered a powerful idol. If it wasn't for the fact that he did things according to his whims like a crazy person, Muyu might have admired him a little. Have you heard of Luo Shang? Muyu asked. Luo Shang? Who is Luo Shang? Kai Lai actually did not know Luo Shang's name. This was strange. Did Shimin Wuhao say that Luo Shang also received an invitation from Fuxian Island? Since that was the case, Luo Shang must have done something that Huai Baiwan liked. How could Kai Lai not know? Is Fuxian Island far from here? Muyu asked. It's not that far. It's about 500 miles north of Lanshi City. Why, do you want to go there? Kai Lai curiously asked. August 8th, which was half a month from now. Muyu really wanted to go look for Luo Shang. He had no one to rely on right now. If he went to the 50-mile garden in the south to find Luo Shang, it would be too far away. Fuxian Island was closer. Naturally, he would go there to look for Luo Shang. Muyu nodded his head. Do you have any way for me to sneak in? Kai Lai shook his head. I advise you not to go there. That place is filled with outstanding youths. If you don't have the strength of nascent soul realm, it would be very difficult to stay there. You should know that youths are incomparably arrogant. If there's a disagreement, they would start a fight. However, only there can you see the overall strength of the younger generation of the cultivation world. Why do you say that as if you aren't part of the younger generation? Muyu was not interested in this place filled with geniuses. He only wanted to look for someone. He didn't plan to fight with anyone. Moreover, he couldn't beat them. Kai Lai grinned. Actually, I want to go too. No matter how talented a person is, they still have to be courteous to an alchemist. I want to go there and sell my pills. I want to rip them off. They have money anyway. For the next 2 days, Master Apothecary was not seen. During these few days, Master Apothecary was busy dealing with the Yumon matter. He searched every house in the city to see if there were any remaining Yumon teleportation arrays. It was said that because of such a huge loss, he had to write a lot of reports to the Sanchon Palace. As for how the teleportation array entered the city, there was no clue. It was an abandoned courtyard. The owner of the house had long since passed away. When Muyu saw Master Apothecary, he hurriedly asked Kai Lai and the others to pack up. Master Apothecary wanted to take them back to the Danding sect. Tian Rant's Red Dust sect was not far from the Danding sect. Master Apothecary wanted her to go back with them. I want to go with Big Brother Muyu. Tian Ran did not want to go back to the Red Dust sect. However, her words did not count. Master Apothecary insisted on taking her away. Muyu knew that Tian Ran should also go back to the Red Dust sect. If she followed him, she might be harassed by that Shimin Wuji. Tian Ran, go back and tell them that you are safe. If you miss me, you know where I will go, right? Muyu patted Tian Rant's head. If he was not wrong, he would go to the 50-mile garden after finding Luo Shang on the floating immortal island. Tian Ran knew Luo Shang, so she should know where to find him. Tian Ran nodded unwillingly. She had snuck out for more than a year. When she went back, she would definitely be scolded. However, Feng Haochen wanted her to pass a letter to her mother, so she had to go back. Little friend Muyu, I'm sure we'll meet again. Master Apothecary cupped his hands towards Muyu. Before Muyu left, he helped him remove some wood dregs. He promised that if he had time in the future, he would go to the Danding sect to help Master Apothecary get rid of the remaining wood dregs. Senior, take care. Muyu hurriedly returned the greeting. He watched as Master Apothecary disappeared into the horizon with Tian Ran and the others. He grabbed little Shuai and stuffed him into his arms. He was also preparing to leave Lanshi City for the floating immortal island. Kid, where are you going? Chapter 149. Tian Yun sneered and said, Brat, you have been with Tian Ran and the others for the past few days. There's also that brat Kai Lai by your side. I can't touch you. Now that they are gone, I want to see who will protect you today. Muyu frowned. This guy was really vengeful. He was still thinking about this matter, even after so long. He shot a glance at Roanna and said, Comrade Roanna, don't you also dislike Tianyin? Why did you lower your status to mix with him? Stop talking nonsense. Tian Yun, help me chop off his left hand, Roanna said while gnashing her teeth. She was still brooding over the matter of being taken advantage of by Mu Yu. Roanna was the pure fairy of Jade Gate. Normally, she would never let a man get close to her. Forget about Shiman Wuji, that kind of guy. Mu Yu, that brat, was nothing. Tian Yun immediately smiled. He turned to Mu Yu and said fiercely, Brat, if you want to blame someone, you can only blame your bad luck. It doesn't matter if you offend me, but if you offend Roanna, you are tired of living. Yonkai, chop off his left hand for me. Mu Yu coldly looked at Roanna and said, Everyone says that the disciples of Jade Gate are fairies. I think it is more like a witch. How can a fairy be so vicious? They blocked the road on the street. There were more and more onlookers, and they were all pointing at them. Most of the people knew the identity of Tian Yun and Roanna. Regarding Mu Yu offending these two people, they could only sigh inwardly. This brat did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. Where is this brat from? How did he offend the young master of Stargate? Sigh, I'm afraid something bad is going to happen. Tian Yun is famous for his ruthlessness. Tian Yun was usually a person who could do whatever he wanted in the cultivation world. No one dared to offend him. Roanna was the fairy of Jade Gate. These two people were the moon, surrounded by stars wherever they went. Mu Yu, this wild brat from God knows where, actually offended these two people at the same time. He was really unlucky. Roanna was no match for Mu Yu. She knew that Mu Yu had a grudge with Tian Yun back then. Thinking of how a certain sensitive part of her had been touched by a wild brat, with her proud and arrogant personality, how could she bear it? Even if Mu Yu was just helping her out of kindness, she didn't care so much. If this kind of thing spread out, her reputation would be ruined in the future. Brat, are you going to chop off your own left hand? Or do you want me to help you? Yonkai was Tian Yun's personal bodyguard. His cultivation was at the nascent soul stage, but he didn't give Mu Yu a feeling of vastness. Mu Yu always felt that this guy's strength was somewhat unworthy of the title of nascent soul stage cultivator. In fact, what Mu Yu didn't know was that people like Yonkai were specially trained by Stargate to be the followers of some of the noble Jindan period disciples. They were the personal bodyguards of these disciples. They would use a kind of medicinal pill to raise a person's cultivation to the nascent soul stage. However, using medicinal pills to raise one's cultivation was naturally just a superficial matter. It had the form, but no power. It couldn't be compared to the real nascent soul stage at all. The cultivation of Qingsong Taoist and Taoist Jiuhua was much higher than Yonkai. After all, they only lacked the spiritual energy to break through. Their own cultivation was real. Even so, Yonkai was still more powerful than the average Jindan period disciple. His existence was only to protect the Jindan period disciples. After the Jindan period disciples reached the nascent soul stage, they would have the ability to protect themselves in the 3 continents. Therefore, when he saw that Mu Yu was just a brat from the Jindan period, he didn't put him in his eyes at all. This guy isn't a real nascent soul stage cultivator. Don't be afraid of him, little Schwein muttered. Mu Yu wasn't someone to be trifled with. In any case, he was the successor of a true god. A true god was able to destroy Gue Xianyue, who was in the nascent soul stage, with his cultivation during the Jindan period. How could Mu Yu be weaker than a true god's swordsmanship? Today, Mu Yu felt that he might be able to exchange a few blows with a person in the first firmament of the nascent soul stage. Come and try me if you have the ability. Mu Yu's shadow clone sword was already in his hand. Is this brat crazy? He, a Jindan period cultivator, dares to talk to a nascent soul stage cultivator like that? I don't know where this wild brat came from. He probably hasn't seen the world. It's hard to say. Last time, the disciple of the Pill Cauldron sect called him Mu Yu. How can someone who could be so close to Kai Lai be simple? Yeah, I still remember that he was very close to Tian Ran, the saintess of the Red Dust sect. There are so many saintesses in the Red Dust sect, and Saintess Tian Ran is considered one of the prettiest. I didn't expect this brat to be so lucky as to hook up with the saintess of the Red Dust sect. The surrounding people discussed animatedly. Although Mu Yu, Kai Lai, and Tion Ran were very close. Tion Ran and Roanna were not ordinary people. If Tion Ran and Kai Lai were present, it would be fine. But now, it seemed that things weren't looking good for them. If you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Yongkai took out a mace and smashed it at Muyu. Although it didn't have the destructive attack of a nascent soul stage cultivator, it wasn't something that an ordinary Jindan period cultivator could take head-on. If this attack hit, it wouldn't just be the left hand, but the entire person would be smashed into meat paste. Muyu took a step forward and rushed forward. The shadow sword met the mace. Everyone shook their heads slightly. This brat was overestimating himself. He actually dared to go head-on with a nascent soul stage cultivator. He was really tired of living. However, Muyu didn't take it head-on. When his shadow sword met the mace, the tip of the sword slid out, dispersing the unstoppable force of the mace. At the same time, the other shadow sword was already stabbing towards Yongkai's lower abdomen. Stupid. When Yongkai saw that Muyu actually wanted to fight him in close combat, he snorted coldly. The energy in his body flung out, and the surrounding air formed a sharp spiritual energy wind blade that slashed towards Muyu. You're too weak compared to Gue Xianhua, Muyu secretly said in his heart. If it was the Gue Xianhua of the past, he wouldn't dare to take such a risk. However, this person was obviously inferior to Gue Xianhua. Except for the aura of a nascent soul stage cultivator, his strength and strength were inferior to a nascent soul stage cultivator. Muyu's steps became blurred. The Luo Chan swordsmanship had an unpredictable phantom step. He was no longer the same person as before. His steps were light, and he dodged Yongkai's attack. Then he slapped Yongkai's face. Slap. The crisp sound made the surrounding people dumbfounded. Muyu, who was in the 9th heavenly layer of the Jindan realm, actually slapped Yongkai, who was in the nascent soul stage. This was something that no one expected. Although this slap didn't hurt Yongkai, it was related to his reputation as a nascent soul stage cultivator. Did I see wrongly? He, who was in the Jindan period, beat up a nascent soul stage cultivator? Many people's faces showed a look of disbelief, and their mouths were wide open. Muyu's body was like a swimming dragon as it circled behind Yongkai. Then it kicked Yongkai's buttocks. This time, the surrounding people were even more stunned. Was this really something that a Jindan period cultivator could do? Feng Haochen once told him that nowadays cultivators paid attention to the cultivation of their spiritual power. Many cultivators only used their spiritual power to fight from a distance, and they didn't pay so much attention to close combat. Muyu cultivated the Luo Chan swordsmanship, which was the unique skill of a true god. Whether it was close combat or long range, he wouldn't be at a disadvantage if his cultivation was similar. I'm going to smash you into meat paste. Being slapped in the face and kicked in the butt by a Jindan period cultivator. How could he accept this humiliation? Yongkai stamped his foot and pulled away from Muyu. The aura of his big club locked onto Muyu, and it smashed towards Muyu with the force of 1,000 pounds. This feels a bit like a nascent soul stage cultivator. Muyu couldn't help but be cautious. He knew that the two attacks just now were because Yongkai was too careless and was humiliated by him. However, if they really fought, he might not be able to defeat him so easily. Muyu couldn't catch the mace with his bare hands. Moreover, Yongkai's attention was on him, so he couldn't dodge successfully. This was almost a sure kill situation. Muyu, I could disturb his aura. Little Shuai whispered in Muyu's clothes. Deal with him, and I'll buy you a drumstick. Muyu remembered that Little Shuai had a very sneaky ability. When he was in the spiritual Qi Eye, he used it to control spiritual Qi. His control of spiritual Qi was even better than Muyu's. He could control the flow of spiritual Qi around him. Magic treasures needed to rely on their own spiritual Qi. However, when the magic treasure flew, there was spiritual Qi around it. As long as one controlled the flow of spiritual Qi around it, they could influence its trajectory to a certain extent. Deal! Little Shuai screamed excitedly. His tail stretched out from Muyu's clothes and wagged. Then, the spiritual chi in front of him suddenly formed a vortex. Although the mace was controlled by a nascent soul stage cultivator, it still deviated from its fixed trajectory and turned to the side. What's going on? Yonkai was shocked to find that his mace didn't hit his opponent. I must have been too nervous just now. With this thought in mind, he controlled the magic treasure again and smashed it towards Muyu again. Smash it towards that bastard. Muyu signaled to Little Shuai. After Little Shuai understood, he accurately adjusted the spiritual chi around the magic treasure again. This time, the mace turned towards Tianyan. Stop right there. You idiot. Are you trying to kill me? Tianyan shouted. Yonkai turned pale with fright. He forcibly pulled back his spiked club. He had originally planned to smash down with a sure-hit attitude, and he had no intention of showing mercy. But now that he had pulled back, he suffered a backlash and spat out a mouthful of blood before he could even catch his breath. Meanwhile, Muyu's figure rapidly descended and stomped heavily on Yonkai's chest. It was unknown how many of this nascent soul stage cultivator's ribs were broken by Muyu's stomp. Yonkai once again spat out a mouthful of blood, but in any case, he was still a Yuanying stage cultivator. Although he was at the bottom of the Yuanying stage, but it was not so easy for Muyu to knock him out. He roared and reached out to Muyu's foot. Muyu floated back, rolled up the heavy mace, and smashed it directly towards Yonkai. Boom! Yonkai was smashed deeply into the stone by his own mace. A human-shaped pit appeared on the street. The mace itself weighed a few thousand kilograms. Yonkai's heart was extremely uncomfortable. All right, Muyu. I've trapped him. This time, I'll be rewarded with a bag of chicken legs. Little Shuai used his spiritual chi to trap Yonkai in the human-shaped pit. The spiritual chi inside was isolated by Little Shuai. Yonkai was now seriously injured and couldn't move at all. The surrounding people didn't know what happened. They all looked at Muyu as if they had seen a ghost. This guy actually used his Jindan period cultivation to beat a nascent soul stage cultivator to the point of vomiting blood. He even smashed him into the ground. This was unprecedented. Everyone felt that it was inconceivable. Was he really only 15 or 16 years old? And you? Muyu walked towards Tianyan. Under everyone's shocked gaze, he slapped him. The pitiful Tianyan had always been a sloppy young sect master. His cultivation was very weak, and he didn't even have the chance to fight back. He was directly sent flying by Muyu. Blood mixed with broken teeth sprayed out of his mouth. He smashed a dustpan table and was pressed under a few dustpans. He actually hit the young sect master of Stargate. This brat is too bold. Tianyun is the famous young master Xie. Even Shimen Wu is several levels higher than him. Muyu walked to Roanna's side. Roanna's face turned pale. She didn't expect Muyu to have such strength. He even stepped on the young master Stargate. Humph! Roanna had already retreated and escaped without hesitation. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.